So that's why. Good evening, guys. Good to see you.
Finally got it working there.
Yeah.
Technical issues are always fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's always fun. Not.
How you doing anyway, mate?
Well, I slept good tonight, so that's good at least.
Yeah, it's always a bonus.
Let's see who's popped in. Gardening popped in earlier. Norfolk, UK prepper, and Gasmud Kilt, and you.
I think Mike's going to stop by later on as well. I was just speaking to him.
And Mouse, PG7, is probably on your side or Mike's side, I don't know. Nail Rolly is on probably your side or Mike's side, I have no idea. E. Griffiths, well known. Burb, John M. Knox, Barb G, Diana in the house too. Good to see you. And for Food Forest Permaculture is in the house. Good to see you, Howie. Sally A. Let's see. Geez. Let's see. No. I believe that was all for now. So, but the topic for today is the what now format micro-crisis and in the moment decisions.
Yeah, probably when you think about it, most things that are crises, they tend to just sneak up on you. They're not something that are long, dragged-out events that you have time to think about. A crisis can be anything, really, when you think about it, especially in an urban environment. Something, you're traveling home on the subway or the bus or something, and then all of a sudden, something kicks off, There's a crazy person on there, and you have to make a split-second decision. There's an accident on the road or something. You have to think about what to do in the aftermath of that quickly. You see something take place on the street, a crime event, or you're the victim of crime, and you have to think quickly about what you're going to do about it. And there's so many variables as well. But, I
have actually 3 different scenarios for this topic, actually.
Nice.
The first one, scenario 1A, this is based on, I chose real scenarios that can actually happen. So the scenario A is stuck in an elevator or subway tunnel, dealing with crowd panic, managing phone battery, and the essential items you should actually carry in a daily commuter bag. A mini flashlight, a bottle of water, a portable charger. Scenario B is stranded in your car, a blizzard or extreme heat wave. While leaving your vehicle can be a fatal mistake. How to regulate temperature safely and keeping an auto survival kit in the trunk. Blankets, jumper, cables, protein bars. Scenario C is active utility failure, gas leak or water main burst. Knowing exactly where your home's main water and gas shut-off valves are. How to use a wrench under pressure and who to call first. That's those 3 scenarios I have actually for this topic.
Those are a good three scenarios because I think they're all quite real world. I know. Grumpy Adventures is saying things like a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
I think we absolutely should think about stuff like that, and maybe even run through like a mental exercise as to how you think you would react to it. But the chances of you being caught up in a terrorist attack are infinitely smaller than the chances of you finding yourself with a water leak in your house, or
Yeah.
a broken down car, trapped in an elevator, or like a subway or something like that. I've never been trapped in an elevator, but I did once actually get trapped on a train.
Hey,
Well,
Marines Army Mom, good to see you.
Only for about an hour. But in that hour that the train had stopped in the underpass I was in, it lost all power. There was something wrong with the train, and it got hot really quickly. And it wasn't the summer. I mean, it was just because the train didn't really have great ventilation because it was all electric, and you can't open the windows on a modern day train. And
you can open some windows, but not all of them.
Yeah, I think in some of them you could. I think the one I was on, none of them you could. Not even like at the bit where you get in and out the door and stuff like that. But there was emergency lighting, but the train was completely dead. It was an electric train. But
yeah,
even in that hour, some people did panic. There was a little bit of like moving around and people getting shifty and quite panicky. And I remember overhearing the woman a couple of seats ahead of me saying, "Oh, do you think the air will run out?" And I remember thinking, well, the air is not going to run out in the train. It's not a submarine, but it doesn't matter, because if she was thinking that, eventually you can get into a bit of a crisis in your own mind of your own making based on not knowing what's going on. And, you can start to hyperventilate and take a little bit of a panic attack, and that in itself can become, something of a situation, not just for that person,
that can
but
be
also everybody around you. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be an issue if you get a panic attack, and that's not a good idea, because that will be not good. If people see you get a panic attack, they will get panic too. So that will spread. So that's not a good idea.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a panic attack, I don't know the exact definition of it, but I mean, a panic attack is basically the complete failure of your logical system to make rational decisions, because you're in panic mode. And it can stifle you making good decisions. And I imagine a lot of people, just out of panic, do the very opposite of what they probably should do. It makes me think as well a little bit. I know we're talking about micro decisions and split-second decisions, but those three scenarios that you've gave, they at least give you a little bit of a, you can't foresee them happening necessarily, but you have time to process what's going on. And it reminds me, there is a survival acronym. I'm not actually a big fan of acronyms, but there is one that I remember called STOP, which basically just stands for stop, think, observe, and plan. And it's really just saying, just take a moment. Don't immediately try and work out everything that's going on. Just simply take a second to look around and assess what you think has happened. Take a second to breathe and observe and pay attention to what's happening. And once you've thought about it for a little bit, it can only be like a couple of minutes, observe what's going on around you, then you can make a plan. But, the plan can be based on what you've observed in that moment, in that time. If you're stuck in a lift, there's lots of things in just that first minute or two you can think about. Where are you stuck in that lift? How big is the lift? Who else is in the lift with you? Is there an emergency alarm? Is there a phone available? Is there any other means of escape? Is it a common occurrence for that lift to break down? Maybe it's a lift that you are at work and it breaks down every other day, and it usually happens for about 20 minutes and then they get it going again. So there's a pattern there. There's a pattern of things that are going on. What provisions do you have? What have you got that's prepared you for that pattern, if that's something you've recognized over time? And I think a lot of it's going to ultimately come down to what I think a lot of people fail to understand, and that is situational awareness.
Yeah.
You have to have very good situational awareness. We've said this loads of times because it's one of the main things that all animals, including humans, have evolved over time to deal with these very types of scenarios. You know, the split second, bloody hell, the tiger's chasing me. What do I do? The fight or flight type thing. That response, as well as you can factor in things like the gut feeling, or other factors that allow you to come to a bit of a plan, an action plan as to what to do to best survive. And as humans, we're the only species that in very recent history has deliberately suppressed this for various cultural reasons, usually, or because we live in larger and larger urban areas where there's so many things going on. To see something abnormal isn't actually abnormal anymore,
Yeah.
And so we've, rather than dealing with it on a situational basis, we've trained ourselves to simply ignore it and walk by. And that's why you see these scenarios of people, you see like a major accident on the road and you're in your car at the other side of the lane. And rather than go into some sort of response as to what you can do to get yourself away from danger or help somebody else get out of danger, you just rubberneck. You slow down and you observe like you're passing by and you carry on. And that's unnatural. That's not a natural thing. That's something that we have suppressed over time in order to do that for lots of different reasons. And it's the same with all sorts of other things. You see it in the news where there's like something takes place in a street, could be a terrorist attack, for example, and people still just wander by as if they're watching it on the TV, or they've got headphones on and they just look down and nothing to do with me. I've got my own agenda here. I'm away, and they sort of hope that they could just pass it by. Very strange way of approaching the world, but I can understand why.
Yeah, I agree with you about that, and I see it even in my city and every city I've been visiting. People have their headphones on. They look at the phone, walking in, looking down at the phones. They are not aware of their surroundings at all.
Yeah. I mean, there's things you can do, and I think a lot of people probably do subconsciously do this, which is you're gathering intel all of the time. And so you're gathering intel about all of the likely scenarios that are likely to happen in the area that you're in. I mean, an example would be, I live in a relatively small town. So if I was down the high street doing the shopping or something and I seen somebody lying on the ground, I would immediately go over to that person and see why they were on the ground, see if they were okay. Do they need some sort of assistance? That they're on the ground, that's an unusual thing. I was in London a couple of years ago, and there's places you can go there where there's people lying on the ground all over the place because they're on drugs or they're drunk, or it's not uncommon to literally see somebody on a high street just lying on the ground, not hurt, but there's something wrong with them. It could be a mental issue, could be an alcohol issue or a drugs issue, something like that, or a homelessness issue. But people walk by all of the time. And to be honest, you kind of have to. So it's not the same as me in my small town, because if I was to go over to that person that I've seen lying on the ground in London and say, are you okay? Do you need assistance? Whether they spoke to me or not, I would then get 10 yards down the road and I would see another person. And then 10 yards down the road and see another person. And I would be there all day just asking people if they need assistance on the road. And ultimately, what can I do about it? Because that's a bigger problem, and because there's more people there, it's a different kind of thing. But because I knew I was in London and because I knew that wasn't uncommon for that particular area, I react differently there as to what I would do if I was in my own little town, for example. And that's probably something some people subconsciously do anyway, I think.
JHT Survival says there was an instance in Boston recently where a man was stuck in an escalator for like 20 plus minutes in a subway and no one helped him. Multiple people saw and just walked away. Guy's clothing was stuck and he was slowly being crushed and no one helped him. If I would see someone stuck like that, I would help the guy.
Yeah. I think this is because we are in a culture where we're being told continuously to suppress our natural instincts. I mean, I'm sure everybody's probably aware of, at least seen the footage. Do you remember a while ago in the New York subway, it was on the news that a woman was set on fire by a crazy person.
Oh yeah, I heard about that one.
I seen the video. It's horrendous. I don't recommend anybody see it, but the thing that was terrible about that was this woman was asleep on the train, on the subway, and a crazy person poured fuel over her and lit her on fire. And she stood up and she was like on fire while standing up. And people were just watching and passing by. Even a policeman was seen on a video, simply just
What?
nothing to see here, nothing to see here, as a woman was standing on fire. Nobody was trying to find a fire extinguisher. They were in a station. There would have been one lying around somewhere. Nobody tried to wrap her in a jacket. Nobody was telling her to get down and roll or anything like that. Nothing. They were just observing this poor woman burning to death. And, you know, it's a thing. It's a genuine psychological condition that we've taught ourselves to suppress those kind of actions in certain scenarios. You know, and it's a strange thing. It's strange to me anyway.
Yeah. You remember that train accident that happened in a tunnel? I believe it was in Germany or Austria, or that were set on fire?
I think so, yeah.
That was horrible. That is a realistic scenario that can happen. What would you do in a scenario like that? Because a fire like that spread like wildfire, basically. So you need to react fast. Well, and in a tunnel, it makes even more dangerous because you have only two ways to get out of there.
Yeah. I mean, people act somewhat irrationally sometimes in emergency situations. I remember we spoke on the podcast once before about a similar subject, and it was interesting that during 9/11, when the first tower basically collapsed,
yeah,
there was people in the second tower still sending emails, work emails. You know, they weren't thinking to themselves, wait a minute, both towers have been hit by planes. One of them has just collapsed. I think it's possible this one might do the same thing. They were more concerned about sending work emails. I think that's because they were in a state of denial. They were in a state of, wow, what's going on around me, because they can't possibly comprehend what's going on. Of course, nobody knew what was going on. But they were in a state of absolute suppression of their own instincts. They were simply just an autopilot of going about their daily business without realizing the imminent danger they were in. And the same thing can happen with fires. That's why companies drill it. That's why it's important to have fire drills all the time. Otherwise, people will just stand around and do bugger all. A few people might have a survival instinct and leave, but some people would literally just watch the smoke billowing in. And an example of that was, where was that nightclub? Was it Switzerland? I can't remember which country it was. It might have been Switzerland, where there was a fire taking place, and people in there were just filming it on their phones. And then all of a sudden, the whole place basically just burst into flames, and a lot of people died. That was recently.
We had a big fire in a nightclub in Gothenburg a couple of years ago.
How many people have a fire extinguisher in their home?
I have.
That's a fire blanket right there. There's a lot of people don't even have one in the
kitchen.
Yeah. I've got a big fire blanket in all of our cars for putting people out. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've got 3 or 4 fire extinguishers, one on the second floor too.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of people don't think about that. They really should.
The most likely place you're going to die of a fire is either in your home or in your car.
Oh, sure.
You know? And so you should think about that. I mean, I've got a few of these little fire extinguishers. I've got one in this room. I've got one in my bedroom, because if a fire happens at night and I'm in bed, I want to have a fire extinguisher. Yep. And I've got one in the kitchen, because that's the most likely place the fire is going to be. And I've got one of these in the car. And they only they cost hardly anything, these things. They're like $12.
I know. And look into these fire blankets too. I've got one of those in my kitchen and 2 extinguishers in my kitchen, another extinguisher on the second floor, and another extinguisher right over there. on the floor in my shop. So those are common things. Yeah, but like to feed along with what the topic is, normal disasters, I'm going to stick with my guns. You're more than likely to get hurt when normal street crime than anything else. And that's what you should be focusing in on: food, water, and protect yourself from normal street crime, period. If you don't cover those bases, you're wasting your time, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely important, I think, to understand the levels of threat that you're likely to encounter in your particular area, you know. So if street crime is a particular threat in the place you're in, I would be thinking about what kind of crime is it, who are the perpetrators, who are their victims, and what am I legally allowed to do to defend myself, and then follow all those bases.
You also got to look into this. Street crime comes to you. These people can drive. They steal cars. They don't have to be a licensed driver. They steal cars, and they will come to you in your home or your workplace.
Yeah,
that's how this stuff happens, man. They don't have any limits.
And if you live in a nicer area away from the worst parts of the town, they're more likely to come to you because you're a softer target. You were saying before, Alan, about the people just walking by. The Manchester synagogue attack was down the road from me.
Yeah.
And one of the guys who lost his life there was laid out on the sidewalk, and somebody just walked and like just looked down, half stepped over him, and just carried on about his day like nothing was going on. Absolutely insane.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I want to put this in. Okay. Street crime, daily disasters. All right. I just ran across an article here. Locally in Washington State, the Democrats are looking to pass laws about sex offenders. Sex offenders here in this area and across the nation have to register when they move to a new location. If they don't, they're charged with a high, it's like a felony. They're in deep trouble. So the Democrats are looking to pass legislation in my state to reduce the charges down to a misdemeanor. That puts everyone in jeopardy. Everybody. Because a sex offender can be a rapist, a child molester, a groper, someone who exposes himself. Yeah, they're looking to pass legislation in my state for that right there. So that puts the entire population into greater danger.
To make it less of an offense?
Correct. To make it used to be that if they failed to register when they moved, they'd get picked up. They get arrested. Now, if they pass that law, now they're not going to be arrested. They'll just be cited and released.
Yeah, it sounds like something that's happening in my part of the UK, where lots of people who are serving prison sentences are having their sentences reduced in some cases to nothing. They're just releasing lots of people because they say the prison population is too high. So their solution is to take entire categories of people that they seem to be as the lower end of the risk scale and just release them, which is insane. What they should be doing is make the punishment more severe or make more prisons. Don't just release people. But
death penalty. Frees up cells, death penalty.
Yep. Lock them up for life. Most other countries around the world, if you do like child rape and shit like that, or rape a guy's wife or whatever, you're going down for a long time, and by the time you get released, you're too old to be able to do it again. That's what we should be doing. Building more prisons. Go ahead, man. You're already going to increase my taxes no matter what happens.
Well, we have.
I personally, sorry, Alan, I personally don't see the point in an actual life sentence. Tell me the point of an actual life sentence. If you're going to be in prison for the rest of your life, why are we paying for them meals and that bed and them guards? No point are you getting rehabilitated and getting back out. I see a much simpler, much brutaler, but much simpler solution.
Yeah, I mean, and you're only getting a complete life sentence because you've done something absolutely horrendous.
Horrible.
You know,
Yeah.
but the thing is, I mean, we all know about the case that's going on in the UK right now with that guy who just stabbed somebody 5 times in the street, and the police allowed him to bleed to death while handcuffed. That guy has got a life sentence, but he'll be out in 20 years minimum, and he'll only be in his 40s when he's released.
And he'll be able to do it again.
Well, whether he does it again or not, the fact that he can live out, he might live till he's 90 years old, 100 years old. He's took the life of an 18-year-old boy for absolutely no reason whatsoever other than racism and violence. And he'll be able to get out when he's in his 40s, get a new life, a new name, a new house. He'll probably get some sort of financial compensation for his time in prison, and he'll be able to live out his life carefree.
Yeah.
That to me is not justice. That to me is insanity. But
That's it.
Welcome to the
I
UK.
agree with that.
Yeah.
Welcome to the UK. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And that's why we were looking at a summer of civil unrest, because people have hit that tipping point now. We had all our politicians and our figureheads and our celebrities going on one knee for another country's police accidentally killing somebody. Yeah. But when it's happened in our own country, we've been told not to politicize it. Don't talk about it.
Yeah. I don't. We're off topic, but I don't see Stammer taking any knee, and I found it pretty ironic that he says the US shouldn't be interfering with our politics by making comments about what took place. What? And we didn't like, and Stammer didn't, the whole country didn't, when they decided to wreck our streets and pull statues down and take knees for absolutely no reason whatsoever, because a fentanyl addict OD'd in the street, a multiple felon fentanyl addict, mental. But,
it's absolutely insane. It's the ultimate double standards.
Yeah, well, it's two-tier. It's two-tier.
Well, if two-tier was a possibility before, it's a definite now, right?
Well, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the police statement on their website that absolutely puts it in black and white that they 100% discriminate based on race. They say it openly.
Part of the curriculum.
It's part of their training. Yeah. It's part of their training. You know,
this is insane, absolutely insane. And yet, we're supposed to just smile, nod, and carry on, Alan.
But I think, I mean, from our topic point of view, that's the kind of information, that's the kind of ground-proof information that you should be armed with if you find yourself in an area like that. If I wasn't from the UK, but I was visiting the UK, one of the things I would do before coming here would be to quickly look into what are the possible threats of the place I'm going. And one of the things I'd be concerned about from somebody traveling to the UK would be, okay, I'm a white man. There are some places in the UK where that puts me in danger, you know, not just from people, but also from the police. You know, I'm not going to be given the same sort of benefit of the doubt as other people. You know, we have a two-tier system. I would have to factor that into my planning for an emergency situation, because the police will react differently. The emergency services, who are supposed to be there to safeguard us, will react differently simply based on what I am and who I am. And that's something you have to think about.
With my job loss, I considered the police and I considered PCSO. And I know a serving officer who is a prepper as well, who I've spoke to a few times. And as much as I'd like to do good, I don't think I could join them and not kind of be targeted by that, because you see them getting the hurls of abuse because of how they're told to do things.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think I'd end up fired.
Yeah,
within a short period of time.
Like you, I genuinely considered joining the police as well, but I couldn't, in all honesty, bring myself morally to arrest somebody for fought crimes.
Yeah,
I can't morally do that. So
no, this is the thing. This is the thing, and I couldn't be at them riots and protests and only kettle one side and ignore another side. It would just not feel right for me. I don't know if you saw Shadow, but Guardian was in there asking for a link.
Okay, send him a link.
Cool. Yeah, it's absolute madness. It's absolute madness. But when you're talking about the reaction stuff before, there's the notion of suicidal empathy as well, right?
Yeah,
One of the lads that's coming to the Scottish Prepper meet to talk about self-defense and stuff talks about this a lot, and it's like, I'm not going to cross over the road because that big bearded man with tattoos looks scary, because I can't judge a book by its cover. So I'm just going to walk past him in this dark alley because it'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Oh no, something happened.
Yeah.
So
of course it would. Of course it would,
Yeah.
because I've made this point before. Because we suppress. We've been taught to suppress our natural instincts because we don't want to be seen to be offensive or judgmental or something like that. And people instantly get annoyed by this, or the woke people do anyway. They say, well, what you're doing is you're blaming the victim. If a woman scantily dressed gets raped in a dark alleyway, it's never her fault. It's always the rapist's fault. Well, yes, of course it's the rapist's fault, but you can't ignore the fact that she's deliberately put herself into a position where the predator, who already exists in the world, is looking for an easy target, and there's an easy target.
I want to add to that. Please give me a moment. I want to add to that, Alan. That's only recent behavior.
Yeah.
My generation's behavior. If it looks like a thug, it walks like a thug, it's a thug, get away from them. Doesn't matter what you get that gut feeling. And, there's the usual suspects here in the U.S. Get away from them. Recently, you guys have been brainwashed into, oh no, don't do microaggressions. My generation doesn't live like that. We use our head and walk away.
It's been leaking in since your generation, Bob. It's been leaking in, because I remember, even as a young child, hearing the phrases from school teachers: don't judge a book by its cover. And that's the premise of it, and that's where it starts. I think they've gone to another extreme now, but saying don't judge a book by its cover has been a phrase since I was little. And it is that kind of thing. Well, you have to.
Yeah. It's pattern recognition. You have to see the pattern recognition. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't necessarily have to be people. It can be literally anything. You simply have to identify the most possible threat. What's the pattern of that threat, and then adjust accordingly. And there's so many examples of that in the real world. And it's the whole thing about taking it back to people, the whole judgmental thing of never stereotype people type thing. I tell you what, in the 70s, right, the biggest threat in the UK in the 70s and the 80s was IRA terrorists, right? If I was in a
video I saw joining the army, it was the IRA.
Yeah, if I was in a busy shopping centre and I seen a shifty sounding Irish guy, I would be more concerned about him. Am I judging all Irish people by doing that? No. But it just so happens that pretty much all IRA terrorists were Irish, more or less. So it's a fair assumption to at least think, okay, maybe if there was going to be one here, it could potentially be him. And then I simply just take a wide swerve or something. If there was purple leprechauns causing suicide bombings in my city, I would avoid purple leprechauns, even if a small percentage of them were the ones perpetrating it, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Somebody said there, above my comment says, our ancestors listened to their instincts and they survived long enough to produce the next generation, which is accurate. And what was the one there? Somebody said, I'm JHT survival. I'm just saying, who raised this generation? Who would have been the ones instilling those ideas? I don't think you can blame the parents on this. Genuinely. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for Shadow, for Guardian, for Bob. Every country is different. I think our education system is to blame.
Well,
it's the most woke, left-leaning thing in the world. And my kids come home and they say things, and I say, actually, kids, this isn't right, and I'll tell you why. But they'll still go back. And the problem I've got is, as a working parent, and stuff like that, I spend less time one-on-one with my kids than they do in the classroom with the teacher.
Bingo. Yes, bingo. Spot on.
Who's influencing it?
The next day they go in front of that university education communist teacher and get more indoctrination every day. Every day the kids are facing this. Yeah.
And Dad must be wrong because he's just old and silly and has a cupboard full of food. He's nuts, so we'll just ignore him and listen to the teacher.
Because it started in the universities with the academics and the faculty, and they're teaching it to the students, because they're in university, become the most educated people in society. So they get positions of authority like the media or entertainment or news broadcasting and things like that. But because they're woke, they have woke ideologies or Marxist ideologies, of course that becomes part of the mainstream. Even though it's a minority, a genuine minority, it appears bigger because they have the levers of power and all of those sort of
influence.
It's influenced that way. And I mean, I don't think that was a grand conspiracy. I don't think a bunch of men got in a room and decided to do that. I think lots of factors over many years culminated in that kind of horrible sort of cascade of events that took place. But from what I understand, without going into conspiracy theories, it was genuinely financed mostly from Middle Eastern nations, funding large universities across the US and the UK, but mostly the US because of the money system that happens there, the way universities are funded. They propagated this ideology into the faculty, knowing that they have time, because they think in 30-40 year time periods, to slowly but surely indoctrinate the self-destruction of our societies, because they have vested interests in that very scenario. That's why Russia, China, and most of the Middle Eastern countries don't have the same problem all the Western countries do. Why is that? Because they didn't do it to themselves.
Yeah. That's insane. Hi, Guardian.
Hey, Guardian.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for having me up. It's good to be here.
But I mean, just before all you guys came on, I was saying that I think this all basically comes down to situational awareness. We say that all the time, but it really is true. And I think situational awareness, a heightened situational awareness without being paranoid, is probably the number one thing that separates sort of survival type people or preppers from the rest of modern society. And that's an abnormal situation to be, because not so long ago, like Bob was saying, everybody was like that. It was just normal, because that's how you survive in the world. So I think we have to install that recognition that, look, just be aware of your situation, look around.
But do you think the more we take the ability to defend yourself, survive, and stuff like that away from people, the less they feel the need to have that? Like, you can't have anything for self-defense in the UK anymore. Everything is just call the police and the government will come and save us. Because we've raised that generation now to think that's all they can do. Anything happens, all you can do is ring a number and hope somebody comes and saves you. Literally, that is it. Obviously, reasonable force to defend your own life, but do you think because we're in that kind of state that people have stopped? It's a bit different when 200 years ago you could walk around the pub and you've got like a sidearm and a sword kind of thing. It's a different mentality, but everything's safe now, right? That's why. It's because it's so safe.
It's blissful ignorance. It's the blissful ignorance. And I mean, I don't even think it's necessarily so much about defense. I mean, that's an obvious thing that's been taken away, but that's because of centralization. So whenever there's a big crisis, governments take the opportunity to enact more centralization in government. That's what they do. They use that as an excuse to centralize their power and take away the rights of more people, and then they never give them back. They never give them back. We see that with like COVID, or we'll see that after 9/11, and you'll see that after these major events. The government will say, on your behalf, we're going to temporarily shackle you from your rights, and we're going to do things on your behalf because we know better. And they don't do it just for that period of time. They simply never give it away. They never give you it back.
It's for safety. It's for safety.
Yeah. I see it constantly.
Not for my safety, for yours, you politician. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you can push back on it by getting around most of it and being as free thinking as possible. But there are people who genuinely want to be blissfully ignorant. There are ignorant people in the world who don't want to think. They simply want to get through life on the easiest possible path. And the easiest way to do that in most of our societies, because we're in very westernized type cultures, is to simply go with the flow, take the path of least resistance. Don't challenge the government. Say, pay your taxes, do what they tell you to do, put the correct piece of garbage in the correct bin, no matter how many stupid bins you've got that don't actually do anything. Just do it anyway. Blindly do it 1984 style.
Yeah.
But you can push back. You can think for yourself. You can try to take yourself away from that system as much as possible. And, this is how revolutions happen. People do eventually push back to some extent.
Yeah, it does come. Yeah. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and he's an American, lives in California, and he made a very clear but legitimate statement. Eventually, it's going to snap here in the States. And he hopes that it doesn't go to the gun. He hopes it'll be men duking up their fists and going out in the street and taking these people down, hand to hand, knock them senseless. And I agree with him. I don't want to see it go to the gun, because that's bloodshed everywhere here in the States. You will have bodies stacked up so fast. I'd rather see men with axe handles and fists go out in the street and duke it out. But
you'll never have it, Bob. There's too many weak people that will resort to other means.
Yeah.
We can't even fight with our words without some crazy nut lying on a rooftop taking a shot at somebody who's talking at a university.
Yeah.
We can't even use our words without them resorting to guns. So think you can use your fists? It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that. I was hoping. I understand how he feels, and I hope that's going to work out that way. But it's probably not.
No.
Once that red button is pushed, and all the Americans pile out, and we know who the communists and the pedophiles and the creeps are. We know who they are. That happened to the Philippines when my wife was a little girl. All the men in the neighborhood. The men were already disarmed. They had very few firearms, and that's what they did. They literally went into house by house and drugged these people out, the communists and the pedophiles and all the creeps, the drug dealers, and the grown men beat them to death in the streets, and it worked. That's what it's going to take.
Yeah, the whole honorable fight thing is out the window. We've got generations of people now that. I mean, back in my day, we used to fight a lot. I used to be on the football terraces. I used to be part of all sorts of stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Somebody went down, fight was over. That was it. Fight was over. You could probably have a pint with the guy afterwards. Somebody goes down now, they keep kicking.
Or stabbing.
Yeah. It's just not the same. It's just not the same.
So I think that this specific scenario is rather intriguing. Unfortunately, there's a lot of good points to cover as well, but we're in, just specifically regarding Micro-Crisis, we are like 2 to 3 weeks away from another unfortunate scenario that's taking place over here on my end of the world. And there's been a large amount of xenophobia. So people in South Africa from the different native cultures that are against the foreigners that are here coming to take jobs. And you can look into this rabbit hole if you want to as well. It's the 30th of June for South Africa regarding xenophobia and the Xhosa and the Zulu tribes over here that are angry that the people from Zimbabwe and Mozambique are coming over into the country. And just to give you guys and put you in on the loop so that you actually understand exactly what's ahead of us, the last time that a scenario played out like this regarding civil unrest those are beautiful, Bob, just on the sideline. Those look so good. I love strawberries, brother. So good. And it's I think that unfortunately at the moment as well, with what we're looking at over here locally, so just so that you guys are aware, if anything does happen, you can look into the situation and realize what I'm talking about. If I do, just worst case scenario, if I stop joining every Saturday as well for a while, it may be because of something like that. And it could easily get unhanded. If you look at like a lot of the social media commentary as well around this topic, people are saying that it's not going to just stop at Zimbabwe and Mozambique. They're also focusing on the colonizers, which are anybody from British or Dutch descent that's in South Africa. And they also aim to, that they aim to remove them after they've been able to move the Zimbabwean and the Mozambique, which puts me directly in the target crosshairs. So just giving you guys some true facts about the scenario that I'm facing right now. So in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and it may not be the case, but as a prepper, you need to keep your ear to the ground and be aware of these types of scenarios. And I'm just letting you guys know how intense that is for me right now, that I even spoke to a guy today. I won't give you too much information on that as well, but I'm willing to help people where I can, specifically people that'll be targeted initially. Anyway, it's a very daunting experience, specifically that I've got small kids. And I'd like, each of you to really just put yourselves in my situation and realize how tremendously terrible that is. And what they do is they block all the roads, they protest, they burn ties in the road so that you can't go, and they commit extreme violence. So that's my actual scenario is a micro-crisis with 2 to 3 weeks ahead of me right now.
Yeah, Ghana's on about evacuating like hundreds of people from there, aren't they, because of the anti-immigrant protests that are going on. So there's actual other countries are now trying to get their expatriates out as well. So it's a serious situation there. Listen, Guardian, I know might not be realistic, and it's a bit crowded here, but you've always got a couch to stay on here, you and the family. You're never without. So if you can make it to the UK, you've got a holiday home here. But
I really appreciate that, and I know that it's an extreme scenario, but even if there was any sort of a case like that, you can bet your bottom dollar that I would be working from early in the morning till late at night, doing anything that you wanted me to do. Just for the fact that my family isn't, that my family is safe.
Don't say anything.
You brought up
almost anything, Mike. Almost.
Very accurate point there, Guardian, where they block off roads and you got to stay out of sight. That's why we put away food and water. That's one of the reasons why I do it. So in case we cannot get out, we're going to be able to stay in here and have enough nutrition to stay healthy as long as possible. That's one of the reasons why I prep.
Yeah. I think as well, actually, Guardian, it'd be interesting to hear like some of the preparations without giving anything away that you've put in place to safeguard yourself. I can imagine, just when you were talking there, I can imagine a few things I would consider doing. One would be like Bob, it would be about fortifying myself into my property and making sure I can sort of withstand some sort of difficult period going on outside for a period of time. But you mentioned kids as well. I don't know what age your kids are, but I can imagine if the school for the kids was, let's say it's a 20-minute drive away, I would be thinking, okay, what are all of the routes between the house and the school? And if the roads were to suddenly be blocked by people burning tires or protesting, how would I make my way to the school to collect the kids and get back to the house? What's the barrier there, stopping me from doing that? Or at what point would I even decide I'm not sending no kids to school because it's simply just, it's not worth the risk. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to pull them away from there. That's
got to be the most difficult, one of the most difficult things in that situation, because as preppers, any sort of survival mentality, you have a foresight. You're seeing this could happen in 3 weeks, where other people are quite naive and will keep going with it. And unfortunately, life's still got to go on, right? You can't just suddenly, this could happen in 3 weeks, I'm going to barricade everyone in the house and do nothing. You've still got to go to work. You've still got to provide. This might not happen. So you've got to kind of have that mental attitude of, I might need to do this, but you've also got to carry on. You've still got to live, right? That's the difficult bit.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to say something quickly.
Let me throw this in here real quick. Part of that is why you have a get-home bag in your car. Food, water, a way to keep the cold rain off of your body. And you've got to have one of those in your car. Even just a bare minimum of some energy bars and some water. You do that, guys, please. I do.
So that's brilliant suggestion as well, Bob. And I think along the same roads as that, I'll also recommend, like, for people as well, so freeze-dried foods and fruit that you can just add water to, because it's extremely light and high in nutrition, and you can carry it with it like for really long as well. And it's also got a very super long shelf life. So things like that, freeze-dried foods and fruit. And with what Bob's saying there, absolutely. Unfortunately, Diana, your comment there is extremely well received. There are refugee programs as well that are working on being able to get anybody that's marginalized and minority groups in South Africa that are currently being persecuted against. Unfortunately, there is a a huge caveat to that, which is that they're, and it's hard to get into this topic, but they're busy doxing the people that are applying for refugee status in South Africa. So if you basically apply for refugee status, the government leaks that information to extremist groups in the country, and they put you as a target. So and that's, you can look this up as well and research what I'm saying. So not even getting out is an option, because if you're trying to get out, then they have resentment towards you for even trying to do so, even though you are a group that is underneath a vast amount of pressure. And we're basically the only country in the world where the minority, which is the Caucasian white people, are extremely asked to get out. If I go through any social media, I'm consistently berated with comments about how bad the colonialists are and how my people aren't wanted here. And I should actually be in therapy for this, as to how I really feel about it, if you actually understood what I'm going through. But I'm definitely not wanted in this country. I'm from South Africa, but I can't even, it's a whole thing. But I'm extremely hurt by this whole scenario.
That's the thing as well. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if I was to find myself in your position, I wouldn't want refugee status somewhere else, because it's my bloody country and I would be staying there. Multiple generations of your family, I assume, are from there, and it's as much yours as anybody else. I mean, that's the case in the UK as well. I mean, if you take a look at some people in my part of the world, if you were to trace back their lineage, you don't have to go very far back to realise, well, they're not 100% native Scottish. They're actually from Pakistan or India or somewhere in Europe. But they're as Scottish as anybody else, really, in that sense, because they've been here for multiple generations. And more importantly, they've assimilated and contributed. They haven't came here on a boat and then tried to assert their authority and their opinions and their religions and their grievances on us. They've simply came here for whatever reason, usually part of the Commonwealth or something, and they've integrated. That's the correct way of doing it. It doesn't matter if, hundreds of years ago, colonizers went to a particular country. That wasn't you. Nobody's responsible for their ancestors. And it always annoys me when I hear that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, well, your ancestors are colonizers. And they're ancestors, they're not me.
Glad you said that, Alan, because I was worried about telling you that my family's half French. So.
Well, that's just different. That's different.
I'll close up quickly with something, and this is the real thorn in the side, and the absolute. So just quickly, two very, very short and quick things. The cities that are here at the moment, that were built by the people the quote unquote colonizers who built and laid the infrastructure for the cities, they're being renamed on an annual basis, and they're renaming every city into a more into a culturally correct isiXhosa or African name as well. So basically, instead of building new cities, they're blaming apartheid ending in 1994, and politicians are consistently bringing that up as well as the common narrative. So even some of the youth that is coming up has that same weight that they carry. And I've been in live streams where they've verbally said to me, this isn't a safe space for white people, we prefer you to leave. And I cannot explain to you the types of scrutiny and the level of harassment that people face. I'll tell you a quick thing as well. Today there was a TikTok that this lady was saying how she's from the UK, and she's finding it very interesting, the differences in language between Afrikaans, which is a Dutch language, and the UK. And in the comment section was the person posting the June the 30th, which is that destination thing where they're going to get the Mozambicans and the Zimbabweans followed by anyone that's a colonizer out. So I mean, to put that type of comment and the kind of shame-free position that people hold to basically, I actually get so emotional talking about this that I'm going to take a breather.
You're right. It's understandable. It's understandable.
Cool.
It's all right us theorizing about things, but when you're actually living and going through it, it's 100% understandable.
Take a breath, Guardian. We're with you. Yeah.
I have been following it on the news and stuff, the stuff that's going on over there, and it's just, yeah, it's you see it in all sorts of other countries as well. Like it's essentially an extreme version of nationalism and stuff like that. But
yeah,
you don't see.
We have the same problem here in Sweden as well.
But you don't see the shoe on the other foot, and I think it's now got to the point that I think that they're in a very unique position where they've in other countries it's quite a minority still. even when you see a big protest in another country by a far right, you know, if like Native Americans try to say the same thing about Americans, right? Technically, Bob, I'm sure you can trace your lineage back, and you might not be Native American.
I am,
but they've just not got that the power in numbers and stuff to
right.
make that credible threat, which is the difference. And it really is a massive threat to a lot of people over there.
It is, yeah. And if you pay attention and look back on a timeline, a lot of that stuff, like in Sweden, UK, it all arrived from other countries in little boats. That's when it all started, right there. There's the root of your problem. Just saying.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the fuel for the fire. But I think everyone traveled to another country at some point, right? Like my family's half French, and genuinely that I always wasn't just winding you up, Alan. So sorry, don't judge me. But that's where the surname's from, you know.
I mean, that's the thing. Unless you come from a very specific part of sort of Central Africa, you know, if you follow the out of Africa sort of theory, everybody's an immigrant of somewhere. You know, because we've all traveled out of that place. If you go by the notion that the only people who are entitled to a certain piece of land are the first people who were there, that's a very slippery slope, because a lot of the time that doesn't really make sense, especially for places like the US, where Native Americans didn't really consider the continent of America as a country. You know, it's not like there was a Native American America before Europeans arrived there. They were tribes, and they had territories all over the place, and they used to conquer each other all the time and kill each other all the time and fight over things all of the time. And then, of course, eventually Europeans, you know, Spanish and, you know, Dutch, British and German and things like that, kind of went over there and colonized and conquered their own areas of land, because that's just what people did back then. But my argument has always been that was hundreds of years ago. And it's always interesting to me that the most woke people, the most ultra left-wing people who say we absolutely hate things like colonialism, but they support reverse colonialism.
Yeah.
So they're against apartheid in South Africa, which I think probably everybody is, but they're in favor of apartheid now, but just the reverse way around, because people now deserve it apparently. Is that the logic that they're going by? It doesn't make any sense to me, that at all. You know, and I'm not against, I mean, I want to make it clear that I'm not against immigration. I think immigration is a good thing. What I am against is completely unfiltered immigration and illegal immigration. That's the difference. You know, if you live in a small tropical island with a carrying capacity of 100 people, and suddenly 1,000 people want to show up on its shores and boats, somebody on that island has the right to say, wait a minute, that's too many people. That's not racism. That's just bloody not obvious. You know what I mean? You can't completely overwhelm an entire culture, an entire system, an entire state, you know, with a completely different, aggressive, mostly, you know, invasive culture. I mean, that was what colonialism originally was in a lot of cases, and I don't think that was right either. But it's a period of history that happened, and the people who live there today, many generations later, aren't responsible for that. That's nothing to do with them.
Let me add two things. You guys know my wife is an immigrant to the United States. Two extremely important parts about immigration. Number one is being vetted before you arrive. And number two, assimilation. Assimilation. My wife's Filipino. We don't fly the Filipino flag. I don't fly the American flag on my house in her country. That's assimilation. If you have a group of people who are not vetted before they arrive and they do not assimilate, they're taking over. Yeah. You are going to abide by our law from our book, not yours. Danger. You're in trouble. You've got problems. And it's going to take a generation or two to be able to fix it.
Yeah.
If at all.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with immigrating to another country. There's a few countries I would like to immigrate to, if I had the time and the money to do it. But
I've not
I-
checked the lottery results yet, but I
But
might be Bob's neighbour soon.
But I tell you what, like Bob,
Hey, welcome.
see, like Bob, if I was to move to the US, or if I was to move to Thailand, or even India, which is actually one of the countries on my list, I wouldn't go there and try to assert myself as, well, I'm going to do this way because the culture I come from is different from yours, and I'm going to push it on you. No, I would assimilate. I would do as much as I can to assimilate with their way of life and being. And if I don't like it, well, bloody leave. Go back to the place you originally came from if you don't like it that much. You have that option. You don't have to be there. I don't understand why you get these people who go to countries and then demand that their country that they're in is like the country they've left.
Yeah, but that's the same people who go on holiday and only eat McDonald's.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's just because they're piss poor culturally educated, but they're only there temporarily. I say British people. I've got to admit, British people are terrible for that.
They're the worst.
Absolutely terrible.
The worst for it.
We go to places like Spain and then think that all you have to do to speak Spanish is speak English but louder and slower.
Yeah, louder, mostly louder.
Louder,
yeah. And hey, the Spanish are annoyed by that, and they actually have protests about British tourism. That's a thing. That's a thing now, and I agree with them, because if you have a small Spanish town that's picturesque and it's overwhelmed by more British tourists than there are native population of Spaniards, and they're there demanding bloody chips and football games and other British crap, I would be annoyed as well. And I'd be saying, go away. You know what I mean?
There's big protests about these cruise ship ones because a cruise ship, a floating island, turns up. 2,000 people disembark in the port, buy a couple of souvenirs, eat, trash the place, cause lots of footfall, but don't stay in any of the hotels, don't stay there overnight, get back on the ship and off they go. Yeah. So they trample the beautiful ground, and they're not putting enough back into the economy. So these cruise liners that go in port to port to port are actually massively affecting their economy and the environment. Social media doesn't help. I mean, Alan, even in Scotland, you used to be able to find like a remote waterfall, and you could go there and you'd be the only car there and you'd find it'd be beautiful. As soon as somebody puts that on TikTok, the next time you go around there's 30 cars parked up, and there's the local clam pits with all the kids swimming in it and stuff like that, and it's just no longer a picturesque thing.
There are, I know we're off topic a bit here, but there are places in Scotland I will simply not travel to because it's a tourist hellhole.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
And that's just what happens. I mean, the Isle of Skye and Glencoe are two places. There's a place in Skye called the Fairy Pools, which is a very picturesque sort of clear water pools and highlands and all that crap in the background that looks very picturesque. See, if you Google it right now, if you put in Fairy Pools Skye, it looks fantastic. I'll tell you what, it doesn't look like that in real life, because when you go there, what you'll actually see is 1,000 tourists from Germany, America, and Canada all taking the same picture, all standing in the same place, and they trash the place. Right? But I don't blame those tourists. I blame the tourist companies that are pushing people there, and they don't care about the numbers. They don't regulate it. They just, coaches and coaches of people just show up and wreck the place. And the same thing happens everywhere. I've traveled a lot of places in the US, and I went to a place near the Grand Canyon where they have this sort of glass bridge that you can walk out on and take a picture and stuff. But because it was such a popular sort of selfie place where people are standing with a phone, you had to wait in a queue that lasted over 2 hours to stand on a place to look at a canyon. Ironically, if you walk 10 minutes down the path, you can see the same bloody canyon and there's nobody there. But because that one place is the point where everybody takes the TikTok pictures, that's where they want to be. But they trash it. That's the thing that annoys me. And it's the same with everything. I don't just mean litter, but I mean tourists are one thing. Tourists are temporary. Tourists come, trash, and then leave. Illegal immigration come and trying to change the entire culture, and that's a much bigger problem. But I know we're way off topic here, so I don't want to rabbit on.
Can I interrupt the whole topic for a second? There's 3 or 4 people that have asked for channels for Bob and for Guardian. Their channels are pretty much the name. You can search them, but if you can't find them, go to my channel on the homepage. Scroll down. There's a section that says Friends of UKPN of UKUP, and you'll find Bob's channel, Sofa Survivalist, Guardian's Gardening channel, Alan's, all the channels there are on there. So go find them, and you can find all their channels via that page if you can't find them anywhere else. They've been linked on there for the past year. So just scroll down on my homepage on the YouTube and you'll find them all there. Sorry,
I've done the exact same thing because I seen Mike do that, and I thought that's a bloody good idea. So I've did the exact same thing for the exact same people. You know.
Yeah.
There you go. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the topic. I just wanted to clarify that so people can find you guys. How you doing, Guardian?
Yeah, it's not for it's so within the last couple of days, 2-3 days. Well, I don't know how long right now, but I actually wanted, because of the situation ahead of us, I took my Guardian Fitness content down, but I've actually made it. I know I keep like taking it down and bringing it up again, because as much as I want to like deliver content and keep like a record of what I'm doing specifically on the fitness side, because it's, you know, I've got the other bigger Guardian channel for gardening specifically, but the fitness channel as well, I've just made all of the videos public again, because it helps me keep accountable, even if, you know, I've got like one specific supporter that I don't know if he's around right now, but his name is Nick over here in the chat, and he's also locally from South Africa, and he's just been a supporter. And I'll tell you guys, like having one true supporter through all of what I've done, as hard as it's been sometimes, it's genuinely like so much more than I can ever like give you guys as to like how much that is like helpful and how much that'll like help a person. So if you're supporting like any of the channels, if you're from Mark's channel, Alan's channel, Shadows, Bob's, and you're like just try and be like vocal sometimes, because when people release like content, like a lot of the time they do, and I'm not saying for myself, like I don't mind at all, like in fact the types of content that I do, like because it's just push-up videos, it's very difficult to actually like come up with a comment consistently when it's just the same video that's redone. But to anybody listening as well from the chat, and we're listening in the comment section, just try and like give other people support as well, specifically because of the world that we're living in right now. And it is something that unfortunately someone mentioned there as well in the chat, that then Hendo pops up as well. Hendo's also been a friend of mine for like a good, I think 6 or 7 years, somewhere around there. And yeah, it's definitely, that's what I'm saying, like if you can have like a couple of people, like just two, I would say genuinely that I've got maybe roughly, I can count them on my one hand as to like true supporters, but that's genuinely all you need. And like that makes such a difference when it comes to people that are like just there as in terms of support. And yeah, just you know, after a bit of a breather, like I don't want to always bring up like the content and the side coming from my corner of the world as well, but it's just such an extreme situation that there's always like a way to kind of analyze that and to kind of just have a watchful eye on your own preps in terms of like what you would do if you had to be in a similar situation, like whether it be our power outages, our water outages, our crime. Like there's so many different things that just consistently keep us on our toes. And that's why I also recommend to everybody as well, like you can be as fit as possible, you can have all the gear, but it will always come down to like a mental level of willpower and like your ability to just be adaptable in any scenario as well, and your constitution to keep pushing forward. That's the thing that'll really like try, no matter what, if you got your constitution, you got a strong will, there's nothing that can take you down. Like that's all of the gear in the world can be taken from you. Gear can be lost, gear can be broken, gear can be taken. Like your fitness levels can go up, come down, depending on like what you're currently doing. Fitness is actually much more of a temporary thing I have found than I could ever realize. If you really need to get into shape, you can do so over a couple of months. But mentally is the most important skill to really hone, and your knowledge of what you can eat out there, what you can do, like how to do like a lot of the I've been speaking for a while, but a lot of like the bushcrafting capability as well. Just hone up on your skills, and your mind is the ultimate thing. They can take everything from you, like, but what you've learned and what you know is something that'll always stick with you.
100%. Yeah, skills don't weigh anything in your backpack. Knowledge doesn't weigh anything in your backpack, so it doesn't matter how much of that you load.
I make my own fertilizer and my own soil for plants. This right here grows wild in my backyard. That's called wood sorrel. You can eat that.
Mm-hmm.
Clover.
Tastes like apple peel. Do you think it tastes like apple peel?
Kind of like a lemony sort of.
Do you know, I knew you were going to say that because most people say it's like a lemon substitute, and I've been eating it for years because it grows very wild. We've got multiple species in the UK, 4 main ones. There's roughly 7. I think there's a few more, but I've always thought it tastes like apple peel. It grows in shady areas and forests. Lovely. It's a lovely wild edible.
That's the skills that everyone should need to know at what are edible plants, because you're surrounded by edible plants. But people starve to death, and it's growing in your yard by the ton, you know. Yeah. Look at this. I pulled this up from underneath my rhubarb plant today. I'm going to make it into fertilizer. That's food. But people don't have the skills. You're going to go hungry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was looking for my book, but I think it's actually packed in my bag at the moment. But the Food for Free book is a great start for something like that. I've been
preaching for a little bit as well on some of on the Facebook forums recently. I'm not on Facebook very often, but I've been on a few of the prepper ones and a few of the other survival ones, and I've been getting some pushback because I was saying just today that to my mind, a prepper without skills is just a guy who owns equipment. You know, survival is something as skills that is you can improvise equipment if you have skills, and it's not about being focused just on one. You have to have both. You have to learn the skills in order to get yourself through any situation without equipment, and then add the equipment afterwards to make life easier. It buys you time. Equipment buys you time. That's all it does.
Yeah,
you know.
But
people get annoyed by that.
I would add to what Alan just said, and I take what you've learned and put it in video and post it on YouTube so that other people can learn. That's a big part of this. We've got to be able to teach each other how to stay alive.
That's why I think I focus my channel on everyone else as well. It wasn't just, this is the Mike show and everything, you know, do what I do. I tell you, I have no idea. So I have a podcast. I'll get Alan on to talk. I'll get somebody else on to talk, because not tapping into that knowledge would be stupid. And I think Bombardier said it best when it's like, you're only a prepper. You can only be a prepper up until the point of the event or something happens, because then you're no longer a prepper. Your time for preparing has gone.
Yeah,
gone.
You're then a survivalist, or, you know, a survivor, etc. However you want to word that. You have to be able to action the plan.
Yeah,
I definitely agree with that.
Equally, if you're a survivalist who just spends most of their time thinking about, you know, primitive survival skills or bushcraft techniques or some of these other impressive type skills, but if you've put nothing in place to prepare yourself for the reality of the world that you live in, which for almost all of us isn't, you know, out in the wild somewhere. It's in an urban environment in a modern society, and in a society that's highly dependent on systems and functions like power and just-in-time, you know, logistics and all of the other things around about us. Then you're half-armed in the world. You have to understand both. You know, to me, survivalism, and to me, a survivalist isn't about wilderness survival. You can be a survivalist and never go in the woods. Right, it's an ideology. It's a different way of thinking. Preppers have a different way of thinking from survivalists, I think, but both can learn from each other's camp. And the more of that knowledge you have, and the more preps that you have based on your surroundings and the risk assessment you've made, the better you are at being able to get yourself around any situation that might present itself, because you're more prepared. That's literally in the name. You know, you know, prepared. You know, prepper. To me, it's just sensible.
But it's easy to get caught up in the buying stuff, right? It's easy to get caught up in it, and I think that's what the trap people fall into.
Well, some people, the hobby is just collecting stuff. You know, it's kind of, I mean, and it happens in wilderness survival as well. You know, you'll get people who say, "Look at my, you know, 30 knife collection of bushcraft knives." You don't need 30 bushcraft knives. I have 2, you know, and one of them I've had for 20 years. Because to me, it's just a tool. But I mean, if you're interested in collecting bushcraft knives, for example, then fair play. That's fine. But you don't need any more than probably 1 knife to a push for almost every survival situation in an actual practical sense. So when I look at some people's kit lists and I see 6 different knives there, I'm thinking, What's the point of that? That's hoarding. That's a lack of skill. That's because you've got caught up in the culture of the item, the thing. You know, survivalists are about skills over stuff. You know, predominantly, but you do need stuff because we live in a world of stuff, and the more stuff you've got, the more prepared you are, and that buys you time. So the more stuff I have, the more time I have.
I don't expect if we had a major SHTF situation to happen here, with my track record of being such a lucky person, as we all know, I don't expect SHTF to happen while I'm sat with all my preps. So that's why skills are my concentration. Yeah. I have my preps because right now I've got half a third empty pantry because we've been living off it for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Because that's why we prep for hard times and for stuff like that. But without skills, you are just, all you're doing is collecting stuff for another person. You're just holding on to it for another person because there's going to be haves and have-nots. And they will be looking for your stuff.
Yeah. and if you're a wilderness survivalist and you've got a big survival kit in your back pocket or a big medical kit, a big first aid kit, but you've never used that stuff, all you're doing is lugging around gear because you fell into the trap of believing the gear, simply owning the gear and having the gear is all you need to do to be prepared. And it's not true. I mean, one of the most controversial things I did online was I ditched my medical kits. I have very few medical kits. My medical kit consists mostly of duct tape. There is no real reason, no practical reason for having anything else in the wilderness unless you're a combat soldier. That's a different thing. And the same with survival kits. I don't believe in little tin survival kits. They're useless. They don't actually work properly. Have a proper survival kit, but use every item in it as a replenishment item. And so that's the methodology I use for that kind of thing as well.
I wanted to add something to what Mike said a moment ago. If and when SHTF, you're already in it. You are. I watch, a little bit of podcasters from the UK and the US. We're already in it. Our governments and our law enforcement systems are being torn to pieces right now. You are in it right now. It's slow, progressive destroying of your own society. You're in SHTF right now.
But it's slow enough, Bob, where the masses won't notice. It's slow enough so the masses won't notice.
Yes. But if Wi-Fi goes out, everyone panics. But when you cannot trust your politicians, your law enforcement are being told not to enforce the laws, you're in it. Yeah.
So quickly, there's a very good question here as well. And I think that, a lot of us take it from the medium to higher level, but somebody asks a very notable question. And they say, as a new prepper, what's the first skills I should prioritize? And if I can quickly just floor that, I'd definitely say master fire. If you can master anything at all, master the capability to be able to build a fire, make a bow drill, actually experiment with the bow drill a whole bunch of times, and not just know the principle of it, but try it out. Build a couple of bow drills, actually get them to work functionally, and also mastering fire. And I've recommended this before, but a very durable, long-term styled magnifying glass for if you are in an area where it is hot enough and it is sunny enough. You can use that. There's also waterproof matches. You learn to use ferrocerium rods and flint and steels. They are different things, so they both have great utility. If you master fire, and also mastering fire is one thing, learning the plants in your local region, learning how to build an organic water filter as well. And not just that, but I'll always recommend Sawyer mini water filtration systems. It's thousands of gallons of water in a small little device that you can drink from pretty much anywhere. Master fire, master water, master the capability to do basic bushcraft, but ultimately just enjoy it. If you get prepper fatigue, which you might experience in the early stages of prepping, just really just push through that. Try and find things that you really enjoy in your real life, your hobbies, and how would those pertain to a survival situation?
Yep. Agreed. And this is a great book for anyone starting off. I don't know if Alan, if you recommend it or not. I don't know if you've seen this one, but this is a great wilderness survival one. And that'll take you through the bow drills and stuff like that and the techniques. So it's a good starting point. I would add one thing to what you said, Guardian. A skill that a lot of people have lost this day and age is situational awareness, which is like almost like the topic we're on.
Yeah.
And it is a skill. It's a skill to combat that, what Alan was talking about, that suicidal empathy of everything's safe, everything's going to be fine, wonderful. To be able to step away from that and think for yourself and be very situational aware, I think that is a skill in itself that everyone who wants to survive should have.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And
Brilliantly said, Mark. Absolutely.
something that Shadow practices, learn how to use these to protect yourself. Learn hand to hand. I'm not a boxer, I'm not a karate guy, but I learned Filipino stick and knife. So at least I've got one set of skills to be able to protect my wife and my children. That's really important, man. Learn how to be able to protect yourself with just your hands. All right.
Definitely.
See, I just want to mention one thing from a survival point of view, a wilderness survival point of view, just because a couple of people are talking about it in the comments, and it's been mentioned a couple of times about fire. You need to take things into perspective and think about it from a logical point of view, right? Take this lighter, for example, right? This is just your bog standard, your Bic or Clipper Maxi style lighter. And people are saying, okay, master fire with all these different variable techniques and things like that. Okay, this lighter, if I was just to do this, right, for just that amount of time, which is roughly the amount of time that it takes to light a cigarette, okay? If I can light a fire, if I can prepare tinder and a fire and light it in just that amount of time, how many times can I do that? Funnily enough, the people who manufacture lighters have did this calculation. A lighter like this will last 3,000 strikes. Now, if I was to make a fire every single time I did this, so that's 3,000 days, that's 8 years. Right? So you don't need a bunch of lighters. You don't need a dozen different ways to set a fire in the wilderness. If you've got a lighter, look after it. Take a couple. I always have a few of these on me. It's good. It's a good thing to learn how to do all of the other things. And people will always say, what happens if your lighter breaks? Have you ever tried to break one of these? If it gets wet, you can dry it out. The little flint thing inside it will last longer than the gas. And the gas will last 8 years if you do this once a day. Just something to think about.
Yeah. I've always thought, I mean, I love doing the bow skills and stuff like that and the primitive skills, but I think it's a massively SHTF situation if we've run out of salvageable lighters and stuff like that. My theory behind it is, in a comfortable environment, if I need to start a fire to cook at 4 o'clock, but it's a summer's day, I'm not going to waste my gas. I want them 8 years. So I'll use my ferrous rod because it lasts a lot longer. Yeah. And it's going to last a lot longer. I want that lighter that you've got, Alan, when it's freezing cold, pissing down, and I need to start a fire quickly. That's when I want that easier solution.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. If somebody was to say to me right now, okay, I'm going to banish you to a desert island for an undetermined period of time, you can take one item. This is the one item I would take, because this has 20,000 strikes. Now, I've did this so many times, and I can prepare a fire well enough that I can probably get the fire going on the first or second strike. And this is far more robust than a lighter. Therefore, it's a safer option. But you try and light a cigarette with this. You try and light a piece of paper with this. It's bloody hard. So the skill then doesn't become about how you use this. The skill then becomes about how you prep the fire in the first place in order to get that going. If you only have one match, don't waste your time thinking about all the different fancy ways you can light the match and then hide it in your hand. Just build the fire really perfectly and really correctly so that when you get you've got the tinder perfectly dry, you're completely sheltered, and when you do strike that match, you can bring the flame to the fire and get it going. It's all about the preparation, not the action. And loads of people get that mixed up.
Yeah.
Come to the Scottish meet, and Roger will show you how to perfect feather sticks, which are absolutely great once you get used to doing it and stuff.
Yeah.
And
I think it's time better we go back to topic again.
How dare you? Do you think this is your live stream?
It is. Well, we can begin with a scenario A, basically.
Okay.
Stuck in an elevator or subway tunnel, dealing with a crowd panic, managing phone battery and the essential items you should actually carry in a daily commuter bag, like a mini flashlight, a bottle of water, a portable charger.
Okay. So what's the scenario? We're stuck in an elevator?
Yeah, you are stuck in an elevator or subway tunnel.
I mean, I'm not massively big on EDCs. You know, the idea of everyday carries, because when I look at most people's EDCs, they're usually gigantic, and I'm thinking, you're not carrying it around every day. Don't lie to everybody. You know,
You have a surfboard in your EDC. Did you know, Alan?
Yeah,
I saw it on a video.
I always think, what do I really carry? And you know, I've got a little work bag I take to work, and it's got a few items in there that that are kind of EDC. There is a headlight in there. There is a small knife in there. I've got a wallet in there. I've got a power bank in there. I've got stuff like this in there and a couple of USB things and stuff. But I think it is sensible to adapt a few items, to carry a few items if you are part of a commute, for example. So if I lived in London and part of my daily commute was to ride the underground, or the subway, if you like, they do break down sometimes, and you do end up trapped in there. And there has been fires and stuff in the places before. That doesn't mean I'm not going to go carrying respirator gas masks and stuff on the unlikely event that a fire takes place. But I think it is sensible to do something like take a bottle of water, take a small backpack, take a little, a headlight, and if you're particularly dependent on medication, take more medication with you than you otherwise would need. If you're somebody that needs to take a pill every 6 hours and you think I'll just take one pill with me because I'll be home in an hour. No. Take a day's worth. Take 2 days worth, because you don't know how long you may be down there for. That to me seems sensible. Even take a little bit of food, even though you don't need food. You're not going to be stuck down there for a month, But what it will do is settle your nerves, and you can offer it to somebody. See if somebody's panicking and they're freaking out, and you say, "Look, chill out, mate. Have a Snickers." You know what I mean? It might actually just let them calm down a little bit.
I want to make a joke. Can I make a joke?
Of course you can.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Stuck in an elevator with a 27-year-old Asian lady with a nice figure, and she really likes me.
Is this a joke or your dream?
Yeah. Don't rescue me. Joke. All right, go on, guys.
I know I'm with Alan. The EDC thing has bugged me for a long time, especially more so in the UK as well. Not to discriminate about anyone else, but I was like, I carry this, and this, and this, and this. I'm like, so if you go to your brother's wedding, you're going to have all that kit on you, hanging off your suit. No, you're not. Don't talk shit. Yeah. It all, you go in for a job interview. You turn up for a job interview dressed up like Bear Grylls with a hip bag this big. You're not getting the job. No. EDC, I have a wallet tool I just showed you. They're not here right now, but Bob and Shadow and that, you've seen my bunch of keys before that have got loads of stuff on there. And that's pretty much it. I carry a little knife. It's got its own little thingy, and I now carry this, which is a 3-inch measuring tool. No, ladies, it's not for that. And the other thing is the UK laws, because you'd be amazed how many police don't know the law. So I carry that, this measuring tool to say my blade is legit, my wallet tool, and then my keys. That is it. I'm with Alan. If you're going somewhere, I've got a kit for the car. If I had to go on the train to London for work, I'd put a little bag together. An everyday carry is literally what you could fit in your pockets. As when I was younger, it was phone, wallet, fags. That was it. That was my EDC. That was the check before you went out. Got my fags, got my wallet, got my phone. Cigarettes, sorry for my American audience. I don't care.
Yeah. I know what it is. Yeah.
But yeah, that was it. And I didn't need a lighter because I was one of those people that stole everyone else's. Sorry. But that was my EDC, and that's realistic. Don't watch a video of some Rambo guy thinking, I can carry around 6.5 tons of material everywhere I go. It's just not realistic. So in the scenario you're on about, Shadow, the best EDC tool in that scenario is probably your phone. It's contact. It's signaling to the outside world. It's a flashlight. As much as it will drain the battery, it's still a flashlight in an emergency situation. So
yeah, you can use the GPS to navigate too.
Yep, and to locate you yourself, so you can give people a pinpoint, I'm exactly here kind of thing.
No offense to anyone in the UK, but I do recall one fella, I don't think his channel's even around anymore. He was, because I made get home bags out of a laptop bag. It's innocuous, it's portable, just enough to get home. He was criticizing mine, saying that this is his EDC. And dude, he had a rucksack full of stuff. It's like once, like you were saying, Mike, there is no way you're going to carry that around everywhere you go every day. No, it's he was doing that to slander my little bag.
Like, that annoys me as well, though, Bob, because I could not critique your get home bag because your get home route is much different to mine. Bingo. You know your get home route. By all means, watch everyone's channel, get ideas, but don't pack your 65-pound get home bag when you work 20 minutes from your house. It's not necessary.
Yeah. And you know,
it's all situational.
Yeah. It could be something as simple as just paying attention to what kind of footwear you've got on. You know what I mean? The amount of people who think, I'll go visiting some city on holiday, and they end up miles away from their hotel with a pair of flip-flops on, and then find themselves trying to walk back because they didn't realize the taxis all stopped working after 10 p.m. in that particular city. You know, that happens because people haven't paid a little bit of attention to the place they're going and the likely scenario that they're going to find themselves in. Well, I visited New York several years ago, and I had
to go through that.
Yeah, well, before I went there, see, because I knew it's like London, eh? I mean, it's one of those cities where if you don't know your way around, you stand out like a sore thumb. And I didn't want to stand out like a sore thumb, so I thought I'm going to plan this ahead of time. And I bought the City Pass, which kind of allows you to do a bunch of stuff for a certain amount of money. But I knew I would fall foul of the subway because I don't know how the American subway worked, or the New York subway rather. So I researched it ahead of time. And I tell you what, see when I got you get like a shuttle thing from the airport to the subway, and then there's a machine that you have to sort of navigate your way through before you get through the barriers. It's not as straightforward as you think if you don't come from there. But see, because I did a tiny bit of research, I kind of knew what I was doing, and I didn't stand there like a tourist idiot saying, "Oh, excuse me, mate, how do you get through here?" Because then you could potentially be a victim. And that's what we go back to earlier on about just pay a little bit of attention to your surroundings, be situational aware, and pre-plan what you're doing a little bit ahead of time.
I do the same thing, Alan. Like my wife and I, you guys know that we travel a lot, and we go to different islands in the Philippines. Like recently, we went to the island of Boracay. I'd never been there, neither has a wife. So I watched a dozen, maybe 50 videos about Boracay, how to get there, what's expected, all that. Do your research before you travel if you possibly can. It pays off. It really does. Good thinking on you, Alan. Do your research before you go. Yep.
Yeah, I always thought that was kind of a normal thing to do. I mean, I don't think it's been over-prepared to, even when I go on holiday, see like a package holiday to Spain or something, right? Which is the cheapest kind of holiday we can do from the UK. Kind of. It's cheaper to go to Spain for 2 weeks than it is to holiday in the UK, ironically. But I always pre-plan it to the point where I know how much a taxi costs. I know when they run and I know when they don't. I know how to get money from a cash machine without being ripped off. I know what currency is best to use. I know the best place to sort of go at night without the likelihood of being mugged. I know what the best footwear and the best clothing is without sweating to death because I'm not used to the heat. Because I've took 20 minutes of my time before I go on a trip like that just to do a little bit of preparation. And a lot of people just don't do that. They just mindlessly show up like idiots, like bloody lemons walking into the fire.
I'm with you, Alan. I did hours and hours and hours of research on the strip clubs in Prague before I went there. Didn't want to get into the wrong one, you know.
Oh, but kind of put it back
it's for
on
safety,
topic.
Darling.
But kind of put it back. Good comment. I like that shit. I do. But, getting stuck in a panic-stricken area like in a subway or in an elevator. The only advice I've got is two. One, you keep breathing. Regulate your breath, because that'll keep oxygen to your brain and keep you calm. And two, for God's sakes, get small, man. You get away from people. Put yourself away from people. Is get small. That's the best way I can put it.
The take a breath is a great point, because take a breath and look around. I was in a situation in the Trafford Centre in Manchester where the alarms had gone. It was shortly after the terrorist attacks in Manchester, so we didn't know what it was for or anything like that. Just the alarms going off. Everyone mass piled to the one exit. I stopped, took a breath, looked round, found another exit, took my family out that exit unimpeded. All right,
smart.
That is literally taking 2 minutes to look around and think, do I want to be part of the crowd? And especially with these things, because they target the exiting crowd, right? So you don't want to be part of that mass crowd. The other thing, the subway situation, Bob, the make yourself small. I'd also say that walls are your friends. Like in riots, in protests or anything like that, the closer you can be to a solid wall away from like the middle of a rushing crowd, the better. So I
agree.
Yeah, great advice. But that's what it does make a difference when you've been in a situation, even like the Trafford Centre turned out to be nothing. It wasn't anything life-threatening in the end. But when you're in that situation, you're amazed how many people just bar and follow the sheep and just like en masse. Everyone's going that way, so this must be right. Rather than literally stopping, taking a minute, looking around, going, there's 6 exits out of this area and everyone's going to one. So, yeah.
I think
That's
as well.
the herd mentality.
I think as well.
Definitely.
See, it's like again with the situation awareness thing. If you are standing waiting for a lift, let's call it a lift because that's what they're really called, not elevators. But it's like if you're standing there waiting for the lift doors to open, and the doors open and it's packed full of people like sardines, don't get in. Because that would be a horrendous situation to be in the first place if it was to break down. Just wait, and then try and get in one. Or maybe think about taking the stairs if it's not that far. I mean, so that's the very first step you can practically take to make sure that you're at least in a situation where you're not overly uncomfortable. But if you do if you do find yourself in a lift and it breaks down, I mean, stop and think about what it is, like you say, Mike, and genuinely risk assess what's going on. And be realistic about your situation. Okay, you're in a lift. It's not a movie. You can't climb out the ceiling and climb up a ladder and all that nonsense. You're going to have to wait for somebody to make the lift move again. But if you're in there by yourself, that's a different scenario to being in there with somebody. And very quickly, even though I'm quite an introverted person, which might not come across on this, but I genuinely am. I don't speak to people in lifts if I was in a lift with somebody. But if I suddenly found myself broken down in a lift with somebody, one of the first things I would do is introduce myself and say, this is a bit of a crazy situation, isn't it? And then maybe start getting on a dialogue with them about what we're going to do about it and at least get a feel for who they are. Because if they're going to go batshit crazy in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to want to know about it. Equally, if they happen to be a bloody fireman, I'm thinking, oh, excellent. What do we do? Yeah. You know what I mean? You have to immediately sort of break that tension, that ice, and then together make a plan. And you're always going to make a better plan if there's 2 reasonable people in the lift are going to make a better plan than 1 reasonable person.
Yeah.
You know?
I've thrown myself into the situation you're on about with the tight lifts, and I think what would have happened if that something had gone wrong. Because like I used to commute from Bolton to Manchester on the trains, and it's the most under-serviced line ever. So it was literally, you are like this, squashed against somebody here, somebody here. I'd strategically stand somewhere on the platform between some smaller people or something like that. You don't want to be stood next to the fat guy with BO when you get on the train. Trust me. I was the fat guy with BO. So, but literally I've seen it where the doors are about to close and somebody's ran and thrown themselves at the people just to squash in before the door closed behind him. And that's how compact it was. Can you imagine that going wrong? That breaking down and not being able to open the doors? Oh, don't think I'd ever put myself in that situation again. But some people are forced into it, is what I'd say.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think being stuck in a lift as well, it's really a case of what could you do to make yourself a little bit more comfortable in that situation if it was to take place. And I would say definitely have some water, because it will get stuffy and hot in there pretty quickly. Definitely have some sort of little light on you, even if it's just a torch on your phone, and preserve that. Look at the battery and check to see if you're getting a signal first of all. And once you've alerted somebody that you're stuck in there, if you know that if people are aware of the fact you're stuck in there and they're sorting it out, great, fine. If you've got 10% in your phone, switch it off. You don't need it. Send a text message if you can to say what's happening, but then switch it off and conserve it, because you might need that later on, even if it's just for the light.
Can I emphasize what Sarah Havison put in the comments just before anyone goes full John Rambo and climbs down a lift shaft trying to save everyone? Press the emergency button. Press the bell. It's there for a reason. Yeah.
I don't think most lifts even have that function. I think that's just a product of Hollywood. Brian would be able to tell us more about that than anybody else.
The one in the Great Universal building I worked in, the bell was literally a bell, but it sounded all the way down to the reception area. It wasn't like press it and some guy was on the phone. It was literally a bell that alerted the reception staff and the security staff, kind of thing.
Yeah, I've worked in one place that had a lift, and it didn't have like a trap door in the ceiling that you could climb out and go up a ladder. It just didn't exist. You were literally just in there, and that was it. It only had two levels. Yeah. That's never had anything at all. It was literally a case of if it got stuck, the fire brigade would come out and crank it, and it would come down to one of the two doors, and then they would forcibly open the door. There was no ladders inside and all that stuff like you see in movies. Maybe bigger buildings do have that. I don't know, but I would be very concerned about trying to self-rescue in a lift. Because that's probably more hazardous than the situation you're in the first place.
Yeah, but I've seen all the Beverly Hills Cops, and Eddie Murphy makes it look so easy jumping from cart to cart on a Ferris wheel. I'm sure I'd manage in a lift. Right?
Yeah. Is it Die Hard where they're like in the lift shafts and they're just jumping from like one door to the next?
Yeah.
Hanging on to those grease-covered cables and no, that doesn't work.
I mean, but
No,
that's a valid point. That's a valid point, though, because everybody watching this is the main character, right? Yeah. Everyone's the hero. Everyone's the main character of their own story.
Yeah.
You're watching five guys that are not the main character because you're always the main character of your story. And if all your experience and all your skills and all your know-how is from Hollywood, you've got a short life expectancy. Just so you're aware.
Yeah.
What was that movie with Sylvester Stallone where they're trapped in an underpass with there's a fire? What was that movie called? It's a great movie. Sylvester Stallone, and he's like in a big underground tunnel, and there's a huge fire, and they're trapped in there. But the thing that's funny about that movie is right at the start, Sylvester Stallone isn't the main character. There's this other guy. And he's like this proper cool sort of mountaineer climber, and he's got all the gear, and he's like, "Yep, don't worry, folks, I will take control." And everybody knows who he is because he's been on TV and stuff like that. And he's like, "What we're going to do? We're going to abseil out of here. We're going to do it." And as he's talking, some big thing just collapses on him, and he dies. And they're like, "Oh, okay." And then of course, the movie starts after that. But I always remember that as like, yeah, that guy thought he was the main character.
Lorraine and Sally's got it, I think. Daylight, yeah, brilliant movie. I'm going to rewatch that. It's been years since I've seen that. I've definitely seen it. It rings a bell, but yeah, you're right. I'm going to have to have a look at that one again. Are you trying to tell me that Sylvester Stallone films aren't realistic?
They're not?
I thought they were documentaries.
Oh. Good luck.
The amount of times me and my brother used to replicate the opening scenes from Cliffhanger off our bunk beds as kids. And I'm on the floor and he's stood there holding a glove.
Another great movie, but highly unrealistic.
Nothing beats. I think it was. I can't remember what it was. It might have been Volcano. Sorry, I know we're off topic, Shadow. It might have been Volcano with Pierce Brosnan. I think it was.
Yeah.
And I was watching it. With my Hollywood rose tinted glasses, as you do, you handle it. Then he got in a car and drove over the lava because he was driving fast enough that it wouldn't melt his tires. And I'm just like, I'm turning this off now.
I did the same thing, Mike. I was like, okay, and then I think I'll go see what's on Netflix or YouTube or something. I'm done with this movie. Yeah.
Oh, it was great.
It's funny that you guys are actually mentioning that at the moment. My wife was recommending earlier that we're probably going to give Apex a watch because we haven't seen that yet, and there's quite a lot of like volume around that as well as a movie.
I've not seen it yet either.
Great film. I nearly killed the missus because of it today, though.
Okay, I'll probably get the reference once I've watched
you've probably seen all the shorts with the music on. It's Chemical Brothers Go.
Exactly, yeah.
And during that, he goes really loud. And I put the Chemical Brothers song on. She was expecting me to do it at the point he does it on the film, but literally 3 seconds into the song, she's driving and I just go, ah! And she goes, oh! not safe.
Yeah, it's funny because it's a movie. Like, if there's ever a movie that has anything to do with like the outdoors or wilderness and a whole bunch of trees in it, those are like my favorite movies. Like all of the movies that are like, my wife actually showed me the movie Shrooms. I don't know if you guys have watched that as well. Back quite a while ago, I watched that, and it was actually quite a nice movie just because it's so based in like the trees and stuff. But yeah, we'll probably go give that a watch. I actually am quite keen and interested to watch it. But have a lovely evening, folks. And yes, it's always good to chat to you.
Stay safe, Guardian.
Yeah, you too, mate. And stay safe over there, eh?
Yeah, eyes open.
That's a good thing that I'm a prepper, dude. I've got to consistently practice. And I'll lastly, before I leave, all of this has a major factor that isn't mentioned often enough in prepping. And I think that has a lot to do with luck. Or, people's faith may be that as well. I'm not going to get into religion. I never do. But I think that luck, just luck itself, and you can say what you want about luck and if it exists or if it doesn't. But I think that luck has so much to do with when it is that a crisis occurs, like what you really have on you, what access you have, what dangers arrive and disasters arrive at like the worst times as well for you. Whether things this luck has such an important component in it. But anyway, stay safe, everybody, and look after yourselves. And I'll try my best to do the same for mine and my family. Keep well, guys.
Cheers, Guardian.
Yeah,
he's right on the luck front. I think that's why I prepare more, because I have no luck. So I need to be as ready for that lack of luck as possible. But that's the whole main character syndrome, right? In Walking Dead, if you're watching it, you're never the guy that got bitten first, getting out the shower because he didn't realize his wife had turned into a zombie. That's bad luck. You could be the main character. So yeah, he's definitely right.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah. What was the other scenario, Shadow? It was stuck in a car.
The second scenario is stranded in your car, blizzard or extreme heat wave. While leaving your vehicle can be a fatal mistake. How to regulate temperatures safely and keeping an auto survival kit in the trunk. Blankets, jumper cables, protein bars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting one. What was it? Can't remember what I was watching recently. I think it was one of the preludes to Yellowstone or something like that. But they broke down in an old-fashioned car in the winter and literally froze to death in it.
That's happened.
And I've been in winter extreme scenario, not extreme that extreme, but I've been trapped on a road for hours because of winter weather. So I always have blankets.
Yep.
I have, which people might think is crazy, but I'll have like a small candle, just this small candle in the car, because with a window cracked open and that burning, that will warm the area better than closing the windows and just dithering in there. So I think it's another personal thing, how much stuff you prep in there. The extreme heat thing, that's a difficult one. Because you're in the shade.
Get really...
Well, yeah, you're kind of shaded from the heat, but you're also magnified the heat through glass as well. So it's a very difficult one.
And the metal...
I think I'd want to try and get
The
out
thing
and lie
is-
under the car.
the thing is, when it comes to the general advice from a survival point of view, when it comes to breaking down in your car, is to stay put with your car for as long as possible, because a car is a bigger object, so it's easier to find a big car than it is you wandering through a desert road or a snow blizzard or something like that. So stay there as long as you possibly can. But you are right, cars are terrible when it comes to insulation, whether it be cold or hot.
Yeah.
And only the slightest amount of heat, a car becomes a greenhouse. And only the slightest, you turn the heating off in the cold in the car and it's a bloody refrigerator in there.
But we've all done it where in the recent heat, we've walked to our car, opened the door, and you can't get in straight away.
Yeah,
it's that warm.
Yeah. I mean, so the thing is, I mean, if you were to break down in a hot environment, it's not about staying in your car, it's about staying with your car. And one of the preps that you can take, you could even substitute that wool blanket as a means of shade. So I would erect the blanket on the car as a type of shade cover. You need, cover is the most important thing in survival. It's one of the most overlooked. Cover is the thing that protects you from the elements, and you need that far quicker than you need water or food. Right? Those things are secondary. Cover's the most important thing, which is your clothing or the shelter or the place that you're in. And as long as you understand the kind of environment that you're in, then it's easy to prepare for it. If I lived in the desert, or I lived in a place where there was extreme heat, I would prepare for the extreme heat. I would take a sunshade tarp with me that blocks out the sun and reflects UV light away from me, and therefore I can get out at the side of the road and protect myself from the daily heat. And then in the evening time when it gets colder, I would have a wool blanket that I can retreat back into the car and cover myself with the wool blanket. Equally, if it was a cold environment, I'd be less concerned about reflected heat and more concerned about conserving heat, in which case I would have insulated blankets and also possibly a tarp, because a tarp is a simple thing to take. But then I would use the car more as covered than anything else, but I'd focus more on the insulation. So it's just about adapting yourself to the environment you're in.
Yeah,
I'll give you an actual situation that happened right here in Washington State about 10 years ago. Some dumbass guy, they were going to go from one mountain town to the next. They're out touring around during the winter when there's snow on the roads. Dumbass. So he takes his wife and baby with him. Oh, hun, I see on the map there's a shortcut. He went off on a logging road. Okay? Went off on a logging road.
Has he never watched a horror movie in his life? Is it?
Mentally ill or something.
Yeah.
He's not with us anymore. I'll get to that. Okay. Up on a logging road in the middle of the Cascade Mountains. Gets the car stuck, right? In the snow and the ice. Can't get it out. He's got his wife and baby with him. So I'm going to walk to the next town. He took off walking in the opposite of direction from what they came, right? He's going to walk to the next town. Meanwhile, he left his wife and baby stranded in the car. Fortunately, she had some kind of a knife or something with her. No blankets, nothing. Okay. So what she had to do to survive was cut up the upholstery on the car seats and light it on fire to keep her and the baby warm, outside the car, of course. And meanwhile, search and rescue is searching for them, but they went off the beaten path. They have no idea where they're at. They just know that they're gone. Okay. They got a helicopter in the air. It's foggy. They can't see them. So she lights the seat upholstery inside the car, the upholstery in the trunk. She lit that on fire to try to stay warm and signal. And she got the spare tire out of the trunk and she lit that on fire also to be able to try to stay warm. No food, no water, but when she lit that tire on fire, that was such a bright black smoke and fire. That's when search and rescue helicopter saw her. But that was like 3 or 4 days later.
Yeah.
The dude never came back to the car because he died. He died. He fell off the side of the road and died of exposure, which is the best place for that piece of crap. What kind of an idiot would do something like that? He's dead. Damn near killed his wife and child, but that's what she resorted to, was cutting up the car upholstery, all the plastic, everything she could, just to try to keep her and the baby warm. Real case. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's insane.
I've heard multiple cases of people dying in cars because they found themselves, you know, in situations where they're caught out. Even it's not quite life or death, but a common thing that sometimes happens in the UK when we occasionally get like what we perceive to be a bad winter, which is basically just a flurry of snow. Our roads come to a complete gridlock because nobody in our country has snow tires or chains, and there's no real snow plows. There's no proper infrastructure to deal with that. So the entire motorway can come to a standstill. And what ends up happening is you'll always get people who are on their way to work, which might only be 40 minutes away on the motorway. But the motorway comes to a standstill. They're inside their car. They've got almost no fuel because they've let it run almost dry. And they're in their shirt and tie because they think, I'm going from my house to a warm car to a 40-minute drive to a warm office. And they don't think to take anything with them whatsoever. And they end up in a situation where they're having to be, you know, rescued at the side of the road because they're abandoning their cars, you know, in a t-shirt. Equally, I mean, the amount of times that I've seen in my life, people at the side of a road trying to fix a tire or standing there with an umbrella and nothing else, freezing because, you know, it's January and they're just sitting, they're in a t-shirt because they haven't got a jacket with them because they were just nipping 20 minutes down the motorway. But now they're waiting for the AA to show up, which is going to be 2 hours. It happens all the time. And that's just piss poor preparation. Everybody should have the bare minimum of kit in their car. The car's the easiest place to carry stuff. The car is one of the few places where I have a proper EDC because you can just pack a box, just a hard box or a bag, and throw it in the boot and leave it. You know, and it doesn't have to be fancy stuff. I made a video about this actually about a year ago of what I keep in my car, and there's nothing fancy in there. But I at least have the means to, you know, tow myself out, start my battery if I need to. I've got some jump leads in there. I've got a spare power bank. I've got a little bit of water. I've got a little bit of food, and I've got I've got something that I can protect myself from the elements if it's wet or cold or, you know, something like that. Not so much the heat. We don't get a lot of heat here, so I don't prepare too much for the heat. You know, but if it's the height of summer, then I might take some extra bottles of water because I'm not a bloody idiot. And I'm thinking, okay, I could end up trapped in my car here at the side of the road. I don't think I'm going to die, but I also don't want to be uncomfortable for the next 9 hours waiting for the road to clear because there's been an accident. So I'm going to take a few bottles of water with me. That's, to me, just sensible. And if I had a wife and a child in the car, like Bob's saying, I would take absolutely more precautions and take more. I would overkill it. I would take far more stuff than I need, because why wouldn't you? You've got the space. You know, it's just about being a little bit sensible about things. Learn basic stuff like how to fix a puncture as well. You know, don't rely on the AA coming to fix a puncture. You can get a plug kit for a tire. It takes 10 minutes to fix up most punctures if you know how to do it. And you can buy them on Amazon for almost nothing.
My wife does this religiously. As soon as she arrived here in the States 20 years ago, she began putting 6-packs or 12-packs of bottles of water in every car, without fail. She did that immediately when she got here and got her first car. Put a pack of bottled water in each car. And I said, you know, I really didn't think about that. She goes, yeah, well, I grew up in the tropics. If you get stranded somewhere without water, you're dead. You know?
Yeah, you're definitely dead, especially in the tropics.
Yep. Yeah, carry bottled water. Put, you know, because a 6-pack of, you can get the little mini bottles, which is better than nothing, or the standard bottles of water, a 6 or 12-pack of those. Keep it in the wrapper if you want to. Throw it in the back of your car and keep it. You forget about it, but that one day when you need it, it's there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, I mean, pay attention to it after a period of time. So if you've got a couple of bottles of water in the boot of the car, after a couple of years, you might want to change them because, you know, they've been exposed to light and things like that, and the bottle itself degrades. But yeah, I always carry, I buy like a big pack of water, but I drink them at work, so I always have them in my car anyway. The same as like the box, I've got like one of those plastic stacking boxes, and I've packed that full of some provisions for the car, and it's just an everyday car carry kit, basically. And the only thing I change out of that is the bottle of water and the food, and I change that every year or so. And it's really just camping food I keep in there with a means to cook it as well or heat it up. You don't need to do that as if it's like the cold type, or if it's just like some chocolate bars or something like that.
Yeah.
But you do have to remember, like we've said, that a car can get really hot or really cold. So if you're keeping nothing but chocolate bars and water in the boot of your car, well, that's probably going to go to mush in the summer, and it's going to freeze in the winter. So take some precautions around insulating your water and making sure the food that you eat, if it's like chocolate bars, are they rock hard in the winter and liquid in the summer? Maybe take something different, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to bounce out of here, fellows. It was good to talk with you all again.
Yeah.
And
Thanks, Bob.
Where's that damn CR? He didn't show up.
I have no idea.
I never see him on this anymore. Where's he went?
Where's that freaking guy? That CR didn't show up. CR, if you're fired from a distance.
He's fired himself. He's fired himself.
He did. Watch them Canadians. Watch them, man.
They're planning something.
Son of a bitch. Peace out, guys. God bless.
Later,
Take care, Bob.
I think as well, when it comes to like traveling in a car, just before we go into the other subject, we'll wait for Mike to come back. But if I was going to be traveling in a car where the distance was very, quite vast, you see these roads in in Australia, for example, they just go
if
on
you go
forever.
from point A to point B and it's a 12-hour drive, you need some extra supplies.
You need to plan to the T exactly what all of your possible threats are along that road. I mean, I would assume that, okay, if I'm on a 12-hour drive on a big straight road and hardly any cars on it, what happens if my engine bloody falls out of the car when I'm halfway down that road? What can I do to, get myself out of that situation? There's no petrol stations and there's no mobile phone signal. What can I do to prepare for that possibility? And if I can, like, run through every possible scenario, and the answer is have lots and lots of preps with me, food, water, clothing, gear, and literally camp at the side of the car and wait for rescue or wait for a car to come by a week later, then that's the answer. If that's if that's the scenario and that's the only answer, that's the answer, and that's what you have to do. So just taking the risk.
And remember, if you leave your car, put some markings on which direction you go.
Yeah. I mean, there is a thing about self-rescue. Like I say, the general survival mantra is to always stay with your car, or at least stay with your car as long as possible. There is an argument for self-rescue eventually in certain situations, in certain scenarios. If you are on a car, for example, and you crash your car down an embankment, and your car goes rolling down a hill, for example, and you find yourself at the bottom of a ravine, there's a very high possibility that it will be a very long time before anybody knows you're even down there, depending on who you've told and who's going to report you missing, etc. So there might be a scenario where you have to self-rescue, or where you're at is, there's some immediate danger. You've broke down on a railway line or a river, a dried out riverbed, and it suddenly starts raining. You probably need to start thinking, wait a minute, I need to move away from this position. But if that's the case, again, you have to have a little bit of forward thinking. You have to have a little bit of forward planning. That's not to say that there aren't some occasions where you just simply have to take a bit of a risk. I ride a motorcycle, an adventure motorcycle, so I like to travel around and tour around. And sometimes I've found myself in places where, I'm looking at the map and I'm like, okay, it's 210 miles to the next petrol station, and I have 200 miles of petrol in my bike.
Yeah.
And I just go for it, because that's part of the risk of that activity. But I wouldn't be doing that if I had a baby on the back or something, or something like that. I wouldn't be putting anybody else in that, scenario. So it's not about risk elimination. It's about risk mitigation based on, what it is you're actually doing and what the purpose of it is. Just have a quick read through of some of these messages.
Yeah. And another thing with a car, if you have to drive for 12 hours, let your family know before
Yeah.
which route you take and when you're expecting to arrive. And what I do is, if I'm going for a 12-hour drive, when I take my breaks on the way, I usually call back home and says, I'm there now, and take a break. I take something to eat. So they also know where I am exactly, which city I am in. So it makes everything easier that way too, to find you.
Yeah, I mean, a journey like that you have to treat as like an expedition. You know, it's an expeditionary drive. I mean, there are lots of places in the world where those kind of scenarios are possible. You know, Australia, I think maybe the United States,
Africa.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really drive 12 hours in the UK because there's not much UK to do. I think if you go from John O'Groats to Land's End, which is the entire length of Britain, you can do that in like 15 hours or something like that. And you're passing basically every city in Britain in order to do that. So you're not in the wilderness. But some people really underestimate just how long it actually takes to walk places because they're so used to driving. So in my town, for example, I don't live in a massive town. If it only takes me 5 minutes to get from one end of my town to the other end of the town in a car, 5 minutes roughly. But if I was to walk the same distance, just through the streets, it could take me an hour. And if it's heavy snow and you're wading through some snow or something like that, it could take longer. So you have to factor that in as well, because the cover, the climate is fighting against you in that regard. So that's something to consider.
What I miss? Sorry, we lost Bob.
Yeah, we're just we were still just talking out the car scenario before. I think there's a third scenario we could probably cover.
Yeah, the car in the heat's definitely an interesting one. I luckily I always have my get home or bug out bag in, and that's got a tarp. So what you were saying about shelter, Alan, I think I'd be covered in that front. So
it's like I don't know if you heard as well. Like I was saying, of all the places that you've got no excuse for not having an actual ADC, like all the stuff you need, a car. I mean, it's easy. A box or a bag, and you throw it in the boot and you forget about it.
Well, it's back to normalcy bias, right? I don't need an EDC. I don't need a get home bag or an EDC because I'm a member of the AA. I'm with the RAC. Somebody will come and save me. Hopefully before you're exposed for 3 hours and die. Mm-hmm. But somebody will come and save me.
Yeah, I've broke down on my bike in the middle of nowhere before on a Sunday, and I've literally got told by it wasn't AA, it was another company, Dynamo. I'll name them. They literally says, yeah, nobody's available till Monday. that was what they told me on the phone. Can't pick you up till Monday because they can't tow a bike and you need a van. And I'm like, so what am I supposed to do? Just die on the side of the road?
Excellent. I hope you cancelled that policy.
Yeah, that policy got cancelled. But luckily, I kind of self-rescued because I was actually traveling with somebody else, and I actually just rid on the back of his bike, and we left my bike at a farm, and it was the whole thing. But that's a scenario. That's a thing you have to sort of consider.
We put too much trust in the systems that are there. That's why the normalcy bias. We broke down. There's a motorway in Birmingham. A lot of people from the UK might know it. And there's a big mirrored corner building. That's the RAC headquarter kind of thing at the side of the motorway. We broke down there, rang the RAC. The person on the phone could see us out the window. Still took them 2.5 hours to get out to us.
Yeah, their shift doesn't start.
2.5 hours? That's a little bit too long.
But hey, it's like anything. You phone an ambulance in Scotland, you'll be lucky if it shows up 7 hours later.
Yeah.
No joke.
Yeah, definitely. It's crazy. So yeah, your own first responder, remember all the time, whether that's EDC, whether it's get home, whether it's just an in-car emergency kit. Don't trust anyone else to come and save you.
Yeah.
That
And remember,
$7.99
Mike,
AA membership.
let your family know where you're going and where your route is to your.
Yeah, so Bushcraft Basics on YouTube. Go and check out his channel. He did a talk on self-defense at the Bushcraft show. He's coming along to the Scottish meet as well, and he's going to do a talk there as well. Now, it wasn't self-defense as in let's get up and all fight and I'll show you how to punch somebody. It was more about like escalation and avoidance and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things is to route map yourself with everything you're doing. Like even if you go out for, say you jog regular, right?
Yeah.
Make sure somebody knows where you're going. And it doesn't mean they have to track you 24/7. But if I turn around and say to, if I run regular and I turn around to Mrs. Urban Prepper and say, I'm doing the run past the Morrisons and back, and she knows that usually takes me about an hour, then in 90 minutes, she could start to worry and think and check if I'm okay, sort of thing. So like, same with anything. If you're going to drive a long distance, make sure somebody knows you're going from A to B.
Yeah.
If I'm going up to meet Alan, if I say I'm taking the M6 all the way up kind of thing, and then I'm going to take this road and that road, and they lose contact with me, at least he's got an idea of the way I was going if he had to kind of track that route. So yeah, always kind of give somebody that information of where you're going, what you're doing.
Yeah, and do everything possible to avoid going off that route, just because you find it kind of interesting. There's multiple cases of people being lost and nobody can find them. They're at search and rescue, can't find them, because they've took a slight deviation from the path that they should have been on. And do you know what? It's incredible that a lot of people are, they find themselves being rescued only meters away from paths. An enormous amount of people in national parks go missing every year, and now two things are happening. Either one, hillbillies are doing them in, or aliens are getting them or something.
We're back to Hollywood.
The most likely thing that's happening is they're going off piste for some reason. Maybe they want to take a leak or something off the trail, and they fall off an embankment, and they find themselves at the bottom of a ravine. And if they're unconscious or badly hurt, nobody is going to find you down there, because you're off the path, you're off the trail. And it's incredibly difficult to track a person nowadays because not a lot of people, even in search and rescue, have those kind of skills. And if they're looking in the wrong place to begin with, because you've gave them I'm going to do a particular hiking route, but I've decided halfway along, you know what, I'm bored of this, I'm going to take this other route. You've put yourself in jeopardy then, you've put yourself in peril, and you've put yourself in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And, it happens a lot. I believe there's somebody missing right now on Ben Nevis. I think that's still the case, which is the highest mountain in the UK. But it's not actually a big mountain as mountains go, but there's been somebody missing up there for a long time now. So, I don't think it's good. The scenario is not going to end well there. But I find it incredible that even in this country, in this day and age, with all thermal technology and all the stuff that they've got, that a person can climb a mountain, which, to be honest, I did when I was a teenager. But a person with a lot, and he's very experienced, by the way, the guy who did it, he's a mountaineer, he's probably fell off somewhere and got injured. But because he's slightly off the normal trail, nobody can find him. Nobody can find them. So it's hazardous. And that can happen at the side of the road. Many, like, you'll remember this story, Mike, on the M9, the car in Scotland on the M9, a man and a woman crashed their car on a very busy road called the M9 in Scotland, and they were off the embankment. And somebody phoned the police and says, I think there's a car down that embankment, but because of a miscommunication with the police, it didn't get filed properly, so nobody came to investigate it. And all the cars were just driving past. I believe the woman, I can't believe which one it was. I think the man died pretty much immediately, but the woman slowly died over a period of a week because nobody found her, and she was just a few meters off the road. And this is this is the busiest road in Scotland.
Yeah,
that's
scary. Yeah, scary.
That's scary. I agree.
Well, yeah, do everything in your power to make sure somebody knows where you are and where you're going.
Yeah, pre-plan, preparation, that's key to
Yeah,
giving yourself a
as I
better
said
chance.
to Alan, Mike, that is, if I'm going for a 12-hour drive, every break I take, I call my missus where I am.
Yeah.
I'm taking a break to eat something, and I'm in that city in that specific diner or something, and I will arrive in, let's say, 5 more hours. Okay, so if I'm not calling in when I arrive, let's say 1 hour after I arrived, my missus would be worried, and she would probably call in and try to call me first. And if I'm not answering them by then, she would call the emergency.
It's about leaving breadcrumbs along the way and having check-in points prearranged beforehand. And if you're traveling in the wilderness, there's lots of devices and things nowadays like InReach and all that kind of stuff that you can carry with you that will at least give you a fighting chance if you were to find yourself down a ravine with a broken leg and no way of getting out. You can press a button. Hopefully somebody will find you.
I thought about one of the Garmin satellite trackers when I did my hike, because there was points where there was zero signal on phone at all. And unfortunately, it was out of my budget to get it. But I did have like the whole Find My iPhone set up between me and the missus. Yeah. And I told her like I should reach this point by then. And when I had signal, I checked in. So there was that. But I probably didn't give her enough information of the route, because I didn't plan an exact route for that. I was just going map and compass style sort of thing. So
I don't have one of those like Garmin's or InReach things either, because they have a subscription, and like you, I kind of can't afford the subscription. I can't really justify it.
The device and a subscription.
But one thing I've always did though, I do this ever since satellite technologies became good on the phone, because I deliberately find the biggest wildernesses I can in the UK, which aren't that big to be honest, but I deliberately find them and I deliberately go to them. But when I get there, I can almost always, even without much of a signal, kind of get the blue dot on Google Maps. It kind of roughly shows you where you are. I take a screenshot of that and I text it back just to say this is where I am just now. Then I turn my phone off, because I don't need it anymore. But at least somebody knows. Wait a minute, he's been gone for a week. If somebody showed search and rescue, well, this blue dot's here on this bit, that's random woodland.
Check in. They've at least got a point to start to work.
They can narrow it down at least. And now you can use apps like What 3 Words, which is a fantastic way of pinpointing exactly where you are within just a couple of feet, using an app that gives you 3 unique words anywhere in the world. It's basically just a lazy person's grid reference is what that is, but it works well. And all the emergency services in the UK anyway use What 3 Words now.
No, it's a great tool for, especially if you live in an obscure place as well, because like the old postcodes, will take you somewhere completely different sometimes these days.
And they're useless. They're useless in the Highlands, for example, because that covers a geographical area, not a location. Even the AA and the RAC will use What 3 Words. You can say this is where I'm at. Yeah, which is a lot better than I'm somewhere on the M whatever. Where are you exactly? I don't know. I can see some trees. I can see the sky. The moon. The moon is directly under me. You know what I mean? They're not going to find you.
Be amazed how many people don't realize about the mile markers. You're never far away from a mile marker, and you can give the mile marker number and the road and stuff like that, and they could find you. But people just, I don't know what that little stick is with numbers on. Let's just keep walking. But it's good information to have. What was the third scenario then?
The third scenario is active utility failure, gas leak or water main burst. Knowing exactly where your home's main water and gas shut-off valves are. How to use a wrench under pressure and who to call first.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't need a wrench in this country. Most of the gas and water will be a tap. If you've got a gas meter, whether that's inside the house or just outside, it'll have a lever bar. If it's down, if it's in line with the pipe, it's on. If it's across from the pipe, it's off. So that's how you shut that off. And Yeah, it's a good thing to know, especially like if you smell gas and the oven's not on, get that shut off very quickly because there could be a leak creeping in from somewhere else. Yeah, it's first thing you should know about a rental house, a bought house, anything where your stopcocks are and things.
It's literally the first thing I did in the past couple of houses I've been in is how do I turn off the water? How do I turn off the gas? Those are the two. Annoyingly, see, the water in my house isn't a tap. It's a flathead screwdriver. You need to put a flathead screwdriver in like this hole and then turn it. It's so stupid. But I tell you
fit a tap.
I could fit a tap, or I could just leave the flathead screwdriver next to it, which is what I've done. So if my house is flooded, I need to get the screwdriver and stick it in this little hole and turn it, kind of like the way you used to bleed a radiator type thing.
Yeah.
And the gas shut off is fairly straightforward. It's actually outside my house.
Mine's outside in the little gas cupboard thing.
Yeah. I mean, another thing I do as well is the gas boiler, because I've got gas and electric in my house. The contact information for the gas company is on top of my gas boiler. I don't have the electricity one handy, but there isn't really any great scenario, I think, where I would have to phone the electricity company, because that's less of a problem than a gas leak. But you can get a national gas leak number from like British Gas and stuff have it, and I'm assuming they'll have something equivalent in other parts of the world where it's just a generic 0800 number that you phone and say, I smell gas, this is where I'm at, and they then work out who's responsible for coming to sort that out, because that's a national thing. That's there's at least 2 or 3 cases a year in the UK where houses literally blow up because of gas leaks and or weed farms using gas, which is I think what happened last time that was in the news.
Yeah, is that the pictures where they were doing the memes of like the firefighters are pretty chilled about it and stuff like that.
The whole street's chilled. But I mean, it's an annoying thing though if you live in a like me, I'm like in a terraced house where it's a block of 4 houses. I'm one of the end ones, but I can't control what my neighbour does with his gas, and his gas could blow up my bloody house. There's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah, this is the thing. This is when people say I'm bugging no matter what, and they live in a terraced house. I find that insane.
Yeah. I'll bug in my flat as the rest of the ground floor flat's on fire. You're just going to stay in your house, are you? I don't think so.
I've got my beans. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Madness. The scenarios in which to switch things off as well is something to monitor. I think if I was in one of these zones where the major boil water warnings were in place, I think I would shut my water off purely based on a household with kids in, because I could trust myself to boil it and follow it. But if they decide to go in the bathroom and suddenly drink from the tap, I can't stop that. So I would shut my water off completely and we'd be using the backups and reserves.
That sounds like a good plan to me.
I think when it comes to sort of utilities, home utilities, there really isn't much more you can do apart from, first of all, of course, know your shut off, your stopcocks and things like that. Have some basic tools, but there's only so much you can do. I mean, legally, you can't actually mess with your own gas in the UK anyway, unless you're sort of qualified to do so. Similarly with electricity, if you're going to mess around with electricity, you could end up causing a fire or something. So if you don't know what you're doing, in some cases, it is best just to have a phone number of an electrician or a gas engineer to come and sort stuff out. And I think the other thing to do as well is keep a schedule where you get these things maintained. Get your gas boiler checked at least every few years. You don't have to do it every year like British Gas try and make you do for £185, as I just found out. I mean, every few years is probably good enough. I live in quite an old house. This house was built in 1934, and I honestly think the electricity
is he froze?
Yeah, he froze. He's like a statue now.
Yeah, he's probably saying the electricity's probably not been rewired since the 1930s. There's a lot of places like that in the UK, and that's probably one of the biggest causes of house fires over here as well. Old electrics and stuff like that.
Yeah, and here in Sweden, people have made their electricity wiring by themselves. They did it wrong, so they get a shortcut. So the house is burning down for them.
Yeah. Prepper for the Ages said the electric company heard him, so they've cut him off. Oh, like that. Or the gas explosions finally caught him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got the scenario in here. Sorry, let me just refresh on that. Knowing exactly where your home's mains, water and gas shut-off valves are, how to use a wrench under pressure, and who to call first. I mean, the call first thing as well, it's worth noting that one of the good things to have as just a general resilient prepared person is paper copies of phone numbers. If everything you know is in a device like this, and that's not available for whatever reason, you need to have them backup phone numbers on your fridge, in a book, somewhere like that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Or have a special binder for those numbers.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's accessible and it's something you can grab. I mean, I would recommend it as part of a bug out bag or your EDC anyway, even if it's just like a small piece of paper in a wallet with phone numbers on, because I used to be really good at memorizing phone numbers. Not anymore. I don't even know my own phone number. If somebody asks me, I've got to look it up. So I can still remember house phone numbers from 30 years ago. I can tell you my house number, what my house phone number was 30 years ago, but my new mobile number, yeah, it's just over my head. So having stuff written down just in case, especially if anything happens to your phone, it's definitely something worth having. Pete, I've missed 2.5 hours evening all. It's all right, we'll start again, right? We have age wiring here in the US. We dealt with that when we helped one sister renovate the house she bought years ago.
Yeah. In US, they have really old wiring.
It's a common thing here. It's a common thing here as well. But yeah. I mean,
Hey, Nelly on the line. Good to see you.
what Alan said is sound advice for now, for like peace times. Knowing a professional plumber, knowing somebody who knows about gas, knowing an electrician is great. Having them on call is great. But you should try and extend your knowledge to at least the basics when it comes to shutting things off and stuff, because if it was any situation where it was SHTF and it wasn't, then people are not available at the end of the phone. You need to know the very basics. Not saying go and practice with your gas in your home. It's not safe. Not advice at all. But you knowing that how to do it.
Alan says, sorry guys, I don't know why I buy my power literally just tripped.
There you go. Put 50p in the meter, Alan. Purple Ale, also keep important documents and contact numbers at a trusted family member's house just in case you need them. Good advice. Good advice.
Yeah, that's a good advice, actually. Yeah, and Purple Ale says a copy of it.
Yeah, definitely. When's the next episode of the film you did? I don't know. I'm going to have to try and coordinate with Alan and Brian for filming. I've already got the premise, so I'm putting everything together at the moment. Hopefully soon. Potentially end of July, beginning of August, maybe. We shall see. Hopefully sooner.
It's always a problem when you need to coordinate with 2 other people.
It is when they're 200 miles away.
Yeah.
Sorry, 50p may only buy you a minute. Yeah, not even that these days.
Yeah, put £10 in it and that might work.
Yeah, for another 5 minutes. Are you coming back on, Alan, or is it tripped off completely, or is it just rebooted?
You probably try to reboot. I don't know, but
Just trying to come back on, waiting for signal.
okay.
What's that one? Use a power supply to keep communications running after power runs out. Your phone, internet are separate and may not be affected by power outages. Obviously, the devices need power still, though. Yeah, Brian did a 24-hour blackout test, and he had his router and everything running off a power bank. Generally, the phone signal will be powered for a bit longer than all the normal power going off, but eventually the telephone exchanges will run out of backup power as well. So it's not a guarantee it will stay on. It's a good thing to get things like Starlink, to get mesh core communications and stuff like that, and keep them. You couldn't make this up. It's like, well, you know, if you were less of a survivalist and more of a prepper, you'd have had a backup power ready to kick in, so you wouldn't have had that.
Yeah. The electric company heard you.
That's it.
Yeah. They shut him down. Or not.
He's being censored. He's back.
Yeah. He's
Back.
back.
You could not make that up. Just as we're talking about power cuts and stuff, for some reason the room I'm in tripped and it cut off both my laptop, my computer, and my Wi-Fi. So I was waiting for the laptop to get signal there. I don't know why, and I'll have to obviously find out what the cause was, because there's a good chance it might happen again. Something stripped the power. So
It's
I'll figure that out.
Not the lights and not the rest of the house.
Nothing else. I went down to the fuse box, and it was just one switch that was tripped.
Sockets.
Yeah, so I just flipped it back up, and all the powers came back on. But it was only the plug sockets upstairs. So I've tripped something up here. I do have a bunch of crap running, to be honest, so it probably is some of that stuff. But yeah, if I had a power bank that was connected permanently to the Wi-Fi, that would have in a microsecond switched across, I believe, and I would have had that problem. So that's for me to invest in.
Did Purple Earl says now filling the bathtub? Did you run to you think that was it? DX.
I thought it was happening. It was happening. I had my bag on and everything. You know what I mean?
Did you have your Crocs on though?
Survival Crocs. Survival.
We keep getting asked when's the next chapter, Alan.
Oh, you've committed to it now. We've committed to it.
Yeah, we need to organise it. I think we'll figure out maybe the end of this month if we've got availability with everyone.
Yeah. Did we get onto the last scenario there, or was?
Yeah, that was the last scenario.
Was it right? Okay.
Yeah, the last scenario was you tripping your power off, basically. So. But you knew where your fuse box was, which is a good example.
I knew exactly what to do. Run, panic, and see what was going on while shouting, "Is the lights on downstairs?"
Your video square isn't visible on your channel, but it is on the other two. That's interesting.
I might have cut the link from us.
Okay, now you're on.
All right. Okay. Oh no, I can see you. I can see you on your channel. There you go.
My PC takes longer to load, so I can't see my own channel at the moment. So I'm either there or I'm not.
I could see you. All good. 86 Fahrenheit here. Wow. Yeah, so I mean, the main category, the micro-crises and the in-the-moment decisions. I mean, you may have covered it before I came on. Have we spoke about fight, flight, and freeze?
A little bit initially.
A little
when we
bit,
were,
yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about the natural reactions that people generally have, and they're largely suppressed now. You know, the fight or flight response and things like that. And you know how panic attacks can immobilize people.
Well, it used to be known as fight or flight, right? Which is stand your ground or run away kind of thing in a situation. But freeze is the more common one now than either of them two. So it's like till you're in a situation, you don't know what you will
Sorry,
do.
guys, I've got a problem with the washing machine, which I think might be the culprit. So I'll be back.
Right.
Yep.
There you go. Quick, turn the water off with the flathead screwdriver. Yeah, so freeze is the more common for people these days because they feel restricted on both. They don't want to run away because they don't want to stereotype. They don't want to fight because, you know, they're all peace loving, and freeze is often the one, and freeze probably gets more people killed than anything else. So what I would say is, without putting yourself in a ridiculous, dangerous situation, step outside your comfort zone and know what it feels like in them moments. And I'm not saying go out there and get yourself in trouble or anything like that, but you know, just doing things that would take you out of your comfort zone will trigger them kind of feelings and them responses, and you can condition and train yourself how to react. And it's like we talked about medical gear, having all the medical gear in the world, but if something happens right in front of you and you freeze, that kit's useless, right? Kit's useless. So you've got to be able to kind of get the repetitions in, get the mental training in to make sure you have control over that fight, flight, or freeze. Now, flight and fight are both valid responses, and both can be conscious decisions. Running away might be the best decision if it's a knife person or something like that. Fighting might be the best decision if it's somebody else in danger and you're stepping in front of them. But freeze is always the unfortunately the most common, but the most risky one as well. So yeah, just wanted to mention that. And you can put yourself in, like Alan mentions, he goes to some of the more remote places in the UK. That is kind of putting himself in a situation where he has to control how he feels and stuff like that, and control that unknown factor. So when it comes to a situation where it's fight or flight or freeze, he will be better conditioned to react consciously. It's like, you know, respond, don't react. He can think about it and actually respond to something because he's been in them kind of situations. I've been in fights and things like that when a misspent youth, and I know what that feels like. I know what the adrenaline rush feels like. I know how my body is going to act. So you're more conditioned to it. But yeah, freeze is the dangerous one.
Yeah, because that can get you killed.
Yeah, definitely. And filming can be the dangerous one as well. Just so you know, that Trafford Centre incident I spoke about before, as well as herds of people going towards the exit, nobody knowing whether it was a fire, an explosion, a terror threat or anything, because the alarm doesn't tell you these things. It's just an alarm. You saw at least 12 people stood in the open, just filming everyone. Oh, look at this. This is going to make a great clip. So yeah, they won't last long.
No.
Yeah. I think I know what the power problem was, by the way. I got shouted there that there was something wrong with the washing machine, ran down, and I could see sparks at the bottom of it. So I now need a new washing machine.
Yeah,
let that be a lesson. Never leave a washing machine running if you're not in the house, because I can smell burning as well. So I literally ran down there with my fire extinguisher thinking, bloody hell, You know what I mean? Now I've got a fire, you know, while I'm on a live about what to do in these kind of situations.
Should have took the camera. Yeah, let's
I
go.
think you are willing to don't suggest anything else, because it seems to be playing out in real time in my house as we're talking. Literally as we're talking, these things are happening to me right now. But,
So let's talk about the potential Godzilla attack in Scotland.
yeah, crappy wash machines. I did do the repair on it last time myself, so ChatGPT told me exactly what to do. I think that might be the problem. Yeah.
Alan's the first victim of AI trying to kill us.
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much just did. So, yeah, that'll be me down a week's wages anyway.
2-3 days ago. If they're not moldy, then they're okay. They're not sprouting trees.
Prepper for the Ages says, so your laundry's cooked.
Probably. I don't know what it was, but I could literally see sparks underneath.
Hey,
it.
Darren, good to see you, brother.
Something's not good.
Yeah. So you're going to repair it again?
No, I think after this live, I'm going to go down, pull it out, and have a look and see what the crack is. But I think I'm just going to have to buy a washing machine, which is really annoying because it's a week's wages, you know, gone.
Yeah,
just like that.
Yeah, always happens at the best times as well, right?
Yeah. Such is life. Such is life. You know what I mean? It's just don't dwell on it. Just prepare for it as best you can and move on.
Yeah. Good job with preppers. But you can always wash in the bathtub.
Yeah,
I want to get a mangle in my efforts to prep as if it was 1860s. I want a proper washboard. I mean, I've done hand washing anyway, but I want a proper washboard, and I want a mangle. But is he just put that on your channel?
I think so.
That's brilliant. There you go.
You're a legend, Gaz. Cheers.
I need to prepare you a step because you're too short to reach the pans.
Do you know,
2 minutes.
doing laundry by hand is a genuine thing that, you could potentially find yourself doing, like in a bathtub or something. Even just like, it might take me a week or two now to get a new machine, and I might have to do that. So,
1 second, I need to grab a pan for somebody who's too short to reach them.
Yeah, it definitely could have got worse. The machine was on the fast spin cycle, and underneath I could see like sparks. So the machine broke a while ago, and it has something called I think it's like brushes or something they're called, these two carbon things.
Yeah.
And I literally followed ChatGPT on, like, I bought the new brushes off Amazon, took them out, put the new ones in, blah blah blah, put it all together, and it's been working for over a month. But I suspect I've probably did something, and it's not working properly now. So, but it tripped the electricity, and I forced the electricity to come back on, which has probably made it worse. So I'll assess the damage after this.
The hand washing I did on my 48-hour blackout thing. But yeah, I want a mangle and a washboard, and I went to Bygone Times, and I was thinking, surely these things must be not expensive. They wanted £55 for a washboard. For a piece of wood with a grated metal in. That's it.
You could probably make one. I don't know how, but you're cheaper than that.
Yeah, I'll be still looking for one, because in my effort for historical prepping, I think it's a good thing to have. I think even if I had backup power, I think things like washing clothes would fall to doing it by hand anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in Scotland and you've got a couple of power banks and some solar panels, that's wonderful. But if it's middle of winter and you're not getting that much charge, you've got to prioritize that power, right? So doing it by hand is going to save on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing. I mean, somebody's saying at least try and fix the machine before buying one. Well, I did, and it's lasted a month, and now it's burnt. It's almost burnt the kitchen down. So, if you rely on these utilities, eventually, they have to be replaced.
It's still worth investigating to see.
I'll work it out. I will work out what went wrong. But yeah, what a night it's turning out to be.
Thank you, Gaz, for supporting Alan's washing machine fund.
Yeah.
Mending and making do with what you have is a valuable skill. You know what? You're 100% right. I can't say your name. Somebody say that name. Olono Karazasrus. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I think the make, do, and mend mentality of wartime is something we need to start looking at now because of the cost of living, not a crisis, and the fuel, not a crisis, not happening in the UK right now.
Yeah.
It's amazing how wasteful we actually are as a country and as a people in general. It's like only when I've lost my job am I thinking, right, well, I'm not just going to buy more jeans, more this, more that. I'm just going to repair things. I'm going to make do. I'm going to mend it. It's, I need to get a 7-seater car. I'm not going to go out and get a brand new one on finance, even though that might be the safest option physically. I'm going to have to get something that needs work because it's what you do, So the make, do, mend mentality, I think people should embrace that a lot more.
Yeah,
I'm still trying to convince the missus to get like a little darning thing so she can sew socks, but she's not playing ball. So Mike make a spinner bucket with holes drilled in it, rope from handle to a washing line, twist as much as possible, then let go. All right, so it's like a spin cycle in a washing machine. That's cool. Being a plugger. That's an interesting term. I like the idea of that though. Gone or gran. I'm going to have a look at that. Don't forget, Alan, if the washing machine has bit the farm, there's a cracking wood burner in there. If you take that metal drum out, they make great burners for the back garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. I might scavenge a bit of that there. But yeah, I suspect it's probably had its last moment.
Yeah, I saw a YouTube video a couple of years ago. A guy took a washing machine drum and made a fire pit of it. Worked really well, actually.
Yeah, there's a place near, not so far from me in Bolton. It like their whole thing is they hire ex-cons as a rehabilitation thing, but they sell washing machines and stuff that they recondition. So they get loads given as charity. Any that they can't salvage, they'd literally take the drum out, and they also sell fire pits there for like 10, 15 quid. These washing machine fire pits.
The washing machine actually smells like it's a fire pit just now. I can actually smell it at the moment, like smells like burnt hair. So that's not a good sign.
No, that's not a good sign.
It smells like burning hair. That kind of weird.
Have you checked where the animals are? There's not one of them.
The dog is caught underneath it.
It might be worth checking. There you go. Gaz has a washing machine drum fire pit. I'm going to try the spinner thing. It's a good idea. The neighbours might look at me funny, but I'd fix it even if fix the plastic sealed drums. That was a mission. Yeah.
You can even get the big plunger thing, the big. I've seen people doing that before. The giant plunger of a bucket, and then just hang it out in the washing line. People used to do that.
Yeah. It's like almost like you're churning the butter kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, there's loads of methods. I mean, just soaking them in the bath is good enough, and swishing them around and then hanging them out is still going to help. But yeah, it's definitely manual washing is something I would turn to very quickly in SHTF, limited electricity, limited power, anything like that. I think that's one of the first things that would get switched to a manual task.
Yeah, it takes a long time to dry though, because you're not properly rinsing them out. I know, like in the past where I've hand washed things before, they're always much wetter than when they come out of it, because there's no spin cycle, and you can't.
That's why the mangle was really good, right? Though that pressed a lot of the water out. Because those drums you have holes, you got good airflow in them. Yeah. Mike and Alan just watched the bunker video again. Your best yet. Well, I mean, we're going to carry on with that series, but me and Alan have got some other ideas as well that hopefully will be enacting. But it's all cost and time, so just be patient. We'll get there. The first time period, Alan might have to be caveman just because it's on budget.
I'll be at that stage soon. At this rate, just living in a cave beside a flickering flame.
Yeah, that's life.
Yeah,
Live in a cave.
No
neighbors.
Get
That's
a new shirt for $3 to
awesome.
$5 in Canada. Yeah, I mean, you could throw out your shirts and get a $3 t-shirt in the UK as well, but it's a Primark piece of crap that will just fall to bits anyway. So false economy.
People say, I mean, modern detergents, you can get hand wash detergent now, which is purposely made for that. So it is a lot easier, but still,
Listen, I remember
it's not something you want to do. I mean, there is actually, I don't know about down your end, but our petrol stations up here have big machines.
They've got the laundrette machine, the
laundrette machines.
Yeah.
They're outdoors, So,
Yeah.
and in emergency, you can. I might end up having to do that now for the next couple of weeks, which is annoying.
Do you know what? I've done it before purely because they're huge drums, and obviously because I've got 6.5 million children.
Yeah.
Sometimes the washing builds up, so it's just like sod it, throw it all into that big blue bag. I'm going to go and unload it into that machine, at least get through a bulk of it. So yeah, we've used them. We've got them around here as well. But yeah, I mean, I remember as a kid having to have my socks on in the bath when we were away on holiday because that washed my socks. Yeah, I remember that. That happened. That was a thing. My nan used to wash the underwear and socks in the bathroom, and she had a area that hung from the ceiling that she pulled down, lowered down. Yeah. Showing my age there.
The thing is, see, just a little bit of knowledge about a little bit of knowledge about the old ways is a valuable thing to have in a pinch, because if we did find ourselves having rolling power cuts or something, then why not? Why not just go back to these old ways? They might be more work and they might not be as efficient, but at least you can get by for a while. I bet there would be people, if we had rolling blackouts tomorrow, I bet there would be people that literally just would fill up a spare room full of laundry, hoping that eventually one day it'll get sorted and they can use their wash machine again, rather than just take the initiative and do something practical now, rather than wait for somebody to fix the problem for you.
But those of us who have lived like students know you can wear underwear for a week and then turn it inside out and wear it for another week. It's fine.
Yeah.
But you're right, because everything invented in the last 50 years, you can a testament to entertainment or convenience, right? That's all it is. It's just making life easier in some way. So just removing all them and going back to how, grandparents, great grandparents did things, then if it needs to be done, it needs to be done. But so many people would fail or cause accidents doing so, I think. Yeah. Most modern washers, what was that? Don't turn off, won't run off an inverter unless it's pure sine wave. An old twin tub will run off anything, and they're a lot better at washing too. Hard to find over here, the twin tubs. Very hard to find. They're the top loaders. Oil shortages coming in Japan, Korea, Philippines, and more. Already is, right?
Well, India and Pakistan have got some serious oil shortages at the moment, especially in places like Pakistan. I think they're really suffering. They're a lot more dependent on it than we are up here.
Yeah.
Kaylin,
wool light is available over here as well. It is a thing over here as well. Same stuff, which is like for hand washing and stuff like that. So delicates. You could write a book for your future grandchildren in how in our day we had machines that could wash our dishes and do our laundry. They'd be amazed. Is that they'd be amazed because they're living in times with no electricity, or because they'll be in the future where they'll just, click a button and everything's clean. There's two ways of looking at that.
Yeah.
Flight tickets up 50%. Yeah, it's insane.
That's insane.
It's mad. I mean, I got made redundant, like everyone, like, what, it was just over a week ago now. But I said 2 months ago I expected it because it's the travel industry. But even now, they've still got their head in the sand. Oh, it's fine. It'll pick back up. Oh, it's fine. It's the mentality is insane. I have a laundry room where I am, but yes, used to have the twin tub, very reliable, but a faff. Yeah, I mean, that's the case with a lot of things, though. I think, Alan, redundancy is built into technology more now than it ever used to be. I mean, if you've got an old candy fridge freezer from like the 80s and 90s, it will still be going. But you get a Beco one now, and you're lucky to get 2 or 3 years out of it.
I think there was, people used to always say that companies deliberately built in a redundancy, so every 3 or 5 years it would force you to go and buy a new thing.
Yeah,
the big companies have always denied that. They've always said that's not true. I don't know if it's subconsciously true, but I think they just don't make any effort to make it so that their products can last longer. Because why would they? I mean, they genuinely do want you to sort of replace stuff every 4 or 5 years or whatever. So I don't think it's that they've deliberately done that. I just don't think they're doing anything to try and get around it. Plus, it's just harder to manufacture a lot of the stuff nowadays because, like, take your phone, for example. When I was very young, if your phone broke, you literally could fix it. The phone in your house. You could probably open up the case, look inside, and
you could buy a new battery, Alan. You could buy a new battery.
Yeah, mobile phones. I used to do that all the time. My old phones, you used to just replace the battery, and they done away with that. For what reason? So you don't do it. That's why.
Safety, of course, for safety.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really just a case of everything has a lifespan, and you have to kind of just go with that. I mean, even in my case just now, that washing machine, I have no idea how old that washing machine is because it came with the house, and I've been here a few years, so it's a few years old at least, and maybe a year or two before that. So how long do washing machines last nowadays? Probably not long by the looks of it.
Let's confuse the young people as we take the battery out of a phone.
Yeah.
Look at that. Huh?
Good old days.
Battery out of a phone.
Does that phone still
SIM
work?
card. That's a SIM card, guys. You young people, that is a SIM card. Yeah, that phone still works.
Yeah, these days you can't even change your battery. You need to let the shop to take care of that one.
Yeah, but they don't even want to do that. It's, it's not worth replacing. It'll cost this much. You may as well just sign up for this contract and get the latest model. It'll only cost you X amount of money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's part of the issue with like the electrification of cars and things as well. Like, they'll say, "Oh, there's very little moving parts in electric cars, so they're far better." And like, well, not really, because you can't fix them. You know, now they're basically, if you damage the underside of an electric car, it's a write-off.
Yeah, I mean, I opened the
it.
bonnet. I opened the bonnet on mine. I looked at it and I thought, what, 60 kilowatts? I don't want to mess with it. I don't want to.
Yeah, nobody does.
Nobody wants to lick that battery just to check if it's charged.
It was when I was looking at buying a motorcycle, it was a consideration because I wanted to use the bike, one as a touring type bike, an adventure type bike, but also almost as a bit of a bug out vehicle. But I wanted something that I could fix. And I'm not mechanically minded at all. I don't know anything about bike mechanics, really, apart from the absolute basics. So I deliberately purchased a bike that has no fancy computer, no fancy sensors, nothing at all. It's mostly mechanical. It's cheap. It's Indian, but all the parts are readily available, and you can literally fix it with like a spanner and a couple of screwdrivers and a few Allen keys. And I built an EDC bike repair kit, which there will be a video for that coming in a couple of months. No, this month I think at some point. So look out for that. But everything in that toolkit can effectively fix almost any problem on that bike that doesn't require a full-on part. If I need a new clutch, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm not going to manufacture one on the side of the road, but at least I know I can get myself out of most problems, most situations by self-repairing rather than relying on BMW to, put in a code, which is literally the case for some of these big adventure bikes nowadays. But that's the same for a lot of other things as well. Sealed units because the company wants you to be in their ecosystem where you're either replacing it from a like-for-like product or you're using their insurance, their warranty system. They want you to buy their warranty, or they want it so that only they can fix it with their magic screwdriver that has, a screwdriver head on it that only exists for their particular product, which is another thing cars do.
Yeah, which is, they've got a pattern on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Again, it's all part of this making every generation even slightly more useless.
I mean, there's some things I just sort of accept. Mobile phones, for example, the technology and the mechanics behind a mobile phone is beyond anything I could ever sort of do myself or replicate or get into the weeds of. So there's no point. Phone breaks, I'll get another one. If the phone breaks and I can't get another one, then I've got no mobile phone. I'm old enough to remember life without one anyway, so it's not that big of a deal as far as I'm concerned. It's just a case of knowing the limitations and that everything has an inbuilt redundancy, everything has a lifespan.
Yeah. And it's a reason as well. That's a good prepping point, the redundancy side of things, because it's another reason not to rely on stuff, right?
Yeah, or at least have another reason to try and manage your finances a little bit, have a little rainy day fund, to fix things like washing machines or phones or whatever, which I don't really have because I'm kind of poor. So I've got some cash from gas and I've got an old credit card. So that's what I'm going to do tomorrow.
Good luck with the cash from gas. YouTube will hold it for 30 days and take 40% of it.
Yeah. Every little helps, though. Every little.
That's it. Oh, great. I'm just looking at hand washing machines. I've gone down a rabbit hole. You can get this little portable one for like 15 quid that's USB powered on Amazon. But it looks like it could fit like a piece of underwear in it.
Some people used to see those big witches cauldron type things. People used to just take their underwear and stuff and just boil clean them, and then hang them up. And that's it. That's all the washing they did. They would boil it, and that was done. The problem we have now is a lot of the clothes we have are crap. They're made of plastic and stuff, so it probably wouldn't work as well. It was okay back in the days where it was 100% cotton or linen or something. But if you try and boil your spandex whatever's, they'll probably be this big. Who told you about my spandex whatever? It just disappears in the water, and somebody thinks it's a spandex soup or something. Just vanishes. No, you're right. There's something. I mean, that's why I've started getting wool stuff and some heavy duty stuff recently, because for that case scenario, if I've got one outfit at the end of the world, it needs to be durable. But yeah, the manual washing machines are interesting. The other one is Romans used to distill urine for ammonia, and they would actually bleach stuff with that and clean stuff with that as well. So yeah, piss in the bed's not always that bad. So. It's a survival hack, honestly.
Nothing to do with the 3 bottles of whiskey. It was just a survival hack. I'm going to try one of these little portable 600-gram load. How much washing do you think you can get into a 600-gram load?
Yeah.
600 grams?
Grams, yeah. Oh, it tells you here. The equivalent of 5 socks or 3 pieces of underwear or 1 piece of underwear. I suppose that's the size of the underwear. Why would you make something have the capacity for 5 socks? 5?
Not even 6. 5.
Not even an even number. 5 socks. Right, 2.5 of us can have clean feet this week.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Well, guys, I think it's time to wrap things up. So...
Was it the underwear that did it? Was it?
No.
Was it piss in the bed? Come on, be honest.
No,
excellent.
I think we covered everything we need to cover. So I think it's time to wrap things up.
Well, I'm going to go and check on my washing machine then, see what
Yeah.
the current air smell is. So,
Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks for having me
stopping
on,
by.
Shadow. That was good, and good speaking to you again, Mike. And I'll catch you all later.
Thanks a lot. See you guys.
See you guys. Take care. Stay safe.